approximately 15 seconds at the 25-second mark, whether anybody else is clapping with me or not. It doesn't have to be.
Okay.
We can do 35. 25.
25.
Some nice rippling on those claps.
Let's see.
That sounds like a joke waiting to happen with dummy thick butts and such. Them claps are rippling.
Mm-hmm.
You said 2 p.m., right?
Yes. I thought
You might have.
I was positive. Well, no, I was positive that I changed the calendar invite, and then I looked this morning and it hadn't been changed, and I don't know what happened. I have like a visceral memory of dragging the calendar invite a week, and then just
Google calendars. Who knows?
Yeah, it didn't. Maybe I didn't click save or something.
Yeah, I just needed to verify the time on my end. 6 a.m. baby.
If you want to make a software developer upset, start talking about time zones and like date time kind of shit. Oh,
yes, God. I'm sure.
Fucking
honestly,
sucks.
as somebody that's done stuff with time zones are bullshit.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's watch internet time. We should get on it.
Tracking time and like formatting time, and it's the worst.
It sucks for my racing club too, because we have people kind of like this show. I don't think there's anybody in Japan, but there's people in the UK and people across the North America, in Canada and the US. So it's always a mess of figuring out time zones.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Okay.
I agree.
All right. Let's light this wet sock.
Man, no, another time. Never mind. Let's do this.
Hello, and welcome to episode 170 of the Gaming Fyx podcast on May 1st, 2021. I am your host, Andre Cole, aka your partner's favorite video game portmanteau. I am joined today by Allison.
Oh God. Pass.
All right.
Jeepers.
We will come back to you.
Pokemon.
Pat. Pokemon. Pocket Monster.
Pocket Monster.
Good.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Pat.
I have no idea. I can't even think of any other ones that exist.
Okay, I can list off some options for you.
Sure. Yeah.
We got Revengeance.
Oh
That one's
God,
good.
right.
That one is only barely a portmanteau because it's basically portmanteauing the same two words.
This is true. We've got Metroidvania.
That's not a game title though.
No, it's a video game portmanteau. It doesn't have to be a game title. It just has to be
fair.
like a video game related portmanteau.
Gotcha. Okay.
Digimon.
Oh.
You got Returnal. Topical.
Which we'll be talking about in a bit.
I don't just want to say it because I like the game, but Returnal is a really good one.
Okay.
It's like the way that it Pokemon is too, of course, but like the way that it all Revengeance is a sick ass game, but that's a stupid title.
But it's like so stupid it like comes back around.
Comes all the way around to being like
not good. It's a dumb title.
Okay. Well, also joining us, Alex. It's
not a portmanteau at all.
And I don't know what the Edda.
Yeah, no, it's
Bayonet
not,
and Beretta. It's Bayonet, Beretta, Bayonetta.
So I got
I don't know if that's
but it makes sense. I've also been playing that game, by the way. We haven't talked about it.
Bayonetta slaps. Okay.
Bayonetta is awesome. Yeah.
My partner and I have been playing it on the couch.
I got two. I got Waluigi, and I've got, despite the fact that I'm not into Monster Hunter, the Warmonica.
Okay, yeah.
Warmonica is also like, it technically fits the bill, but it has the whole first word, like it has the whole word in it.
Isn't it?
But I guess Returnal does too, so whatever.
Yeah.
Palico is good too.
Palico is good. Yeah, Monster Hunter's got a bunch of them.
Yeah.
Turns out just about everything about Monster Hunter is good. There's
Except
not
for the
really
movie.
anything. Well, yeah. Basically,
the
like
games.
the colonial narrative in Monster Hunter World sucks. Otherwise, everything that I know about Monster Hunter is good.
It's Monster Hunter's a pretty good game. But we don't have Monster Hunter today. No one's playing Monster Hunter right now. I don't know. Maybe Pat's playing a little bit, but
No,
we got good
will,
games today. So.
Yeah.
hey, whoa. What are you trying to say?
Usually our games are fucking terrible.
No.
No.
Except when we talk about
Last
Monster
week.
Hunter.
I had dumb games last week, but they were good. Scum's a
I'm
good
joking.
game. It's stupid. It's good
I-
poop. Because you
I
can poop in a game doesn't make it bad.
No.
It's a shitty
Bad
game.
ads.
It may make it shitty, but it doesn't make it bad.
All right. Well, since we're talking about games, Alex, you got one game this week.
I do. I have one game, and
It's an old game. It's an oldie, but a newie.
yeah, it is what was old is new again. And that is
something old, something blue, something version 1.22.
Wow.
Hey,
I really should pay you for this.
Bravo.
Sending this in to Game Informer. Hire me.
Wow. Well, that's NieR Replicant, everyone. What did you bring? Just kidding. Yeah, I ain't got nothing to follow that up because that was good. NieR Replicant, it is a video game. What was old is new again, as is true, because that's also kind of the theme of NieR Replicant. Because if you've not played NieR Replicant, it is the game that came out in 2010, 2011.
Yep.
Justin McElroy hated the fishing.
Yep. That's its legacy for sure.
That is its
In the
legacy.
West, at least.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was, of course, the I'm gonna say prequel, but NieR Automata was the sequel to NieR. Replicant
NieR is the
/
sequel
Gestalt.
to Drakengard.
Wait, well, it's a sequel to ending E of Drakengard.
Yeah. What's so what?
Do we need to get into the lineage? Like, I
mean,
And-
only
and Drak-
because the reason that NieR happens is because a giant salt lady falls through a portal over modern day Tokyo and then explodes and rains magic dust everywhere, and that's why things get fucked up, which is a pretty good. Like,
Yep.
yes, that is basically what happens.
I don't know if that's like a joke or real.
No, it's
because-
not.
No, it is
because it's
very
like,
real.
Serious.
Yeah,
Because like honestly, fucking
she brings
Yoko
magic.
Taro.
Yeah, like it's basically a bad ending, and then she brings magic, and then that gives birth to the world of NieR.
Nothing else about Drakengard matters. Like the characters of Drakengard don't matter. The fact that there's a dragon doesn't matter. It's just that the dragons. It's just that this lady falls through a portal. The giant. It's like the final boss or whatever of Drakengard 3, and she falls through this portal and explodes all over Tokyo, and that's causes magic. Which I appreciate the fact that Yoko Taro is like, yeah, if magic just happened, it would kind of end the world, wouldn't it? Which is what happens in NieR.
Yep. And also funny, and just all of the NieR stuff coming out recently, there's the story of how Drakengard actually got started that came out from some interview. I can't remember which interview it was, sorry, but basically saying they had set up this pitch and brought it to Sony.
Yeah, at E3 or something.
At E3, and at some conference, and basically Sony, the reps at Sony were like, they're the ones that were going to fund it and distribute and stuff like that. And Yosuke Saito, I think it was, who flew out to America to pitch it to the Sony people. And the Sony people were just so tired and exhausted. They didn't even really read the pitch. They just approved it blindly, assuming
they were
presumably
bless.
because it was like, it was Square Enix. They're like, oh, Square makes good stuff. So
well, and also like part of that story was they were worried that like, oh, this is going to be like too dour and like they're not going to like be down with something like this. And then
It is.
like, oh yeah, whatever, go.
I mean,
yeah, make it.
We won't spoil any story stuff for people that are going to play it for the first time, but it is a depressing video game.
it is possibly the most nihilistic series I can think
Yes.
of.
It is more depressing than NieR
fishing,
Automata.
You go
IMO.
fishing and you plant some flowers and you garden. Like, I don't see what's the issue.
And the gardening takes real time, like real world.
Oh, there we go. Okay, yeah, no, I see your point. Yep.
No,
burn it all down.
now you can't just. You used to just be able to spoof it because it was on a console that was
system
like
clock.
A lot of people just didn't connect their PS3s to the internet, so like you could just
couldn't
mess with this.
Couldn't you just do that now?
You cannot change the system clock on
Wait,
like
what?
PS5s, from what I understand.
What?
That's what I've been hearing, is that
Probably
there's
not easily. Yeah.
you can't change the system. I don't know about PS4 if you're playing it there.
Like, I understand,
like, you can't
to the internet.
You don't change your system clock on your PC. I mean, theoretically you can, but it's much less of a simple prospect.
Connected that I feel like that'd be really difficult.
And from what I understand, it may be that that changing the system clock doesn't work because it pings the internet for. I'm not sure.
Disconnect from the internet.
But
I've not tried. Yeah. But
I mean, if to speed up the farming in NieR, if you want to disconnect your system from the internet and change the system clock, like,
I mean, that is certainly a choice, but
a lot of work. I believe it farms while you're not playing, like it grows while you're not playing.
Yes, you don't have to keep it on. Like usually crops take like 2 days or something, like 48 hours. But you can also use fertilizers.
Can you pay money for those fertilizers? Is this like a free to play type situation?
Oh, not like real world money. You can pay in-game currency for fertilizer, or you can just find it out in the world. So
it sounds like
you basically just find shit in the world and go, time to
literal shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it only works if you have a PS5 with a disc drive, though.
People always said that the original NieR is like the combat was bad. I never felt that way. I really enjoyed playing that game when I played it, but it sounds like that's the biggest improvement besides the visuals that this version has, is that the combat is closer to Automata.
Yeah, it feels like a platinum game. Like when I played the original, like I did play the original back in like 2011 or something. I borrowed it from a friend for a weekend, and I think I'm almost further now than I was then. So like I was like, yeah, this seems cool, but I just never got into it. So
have you finished the first route?
Currently, no. I'm taking my time with this one.
No, that's good.
Slow.
I'm just curious because what I will say about this is not a spoiler, because I'm not going to say anything about what actually changes, but when you go to Route B in NieR Automata, it's like, oh, cool. And then over the course of the story, it's a perspective shift. And then over the course of the story, you're like, oh shit, okay, this is crazy. NieR Replicant is more like you start Route B and you're like, wait, what? And then you just basically have like a rolling mind explosion for the rest of the the route.
Cool.
It's pretty fun.
It sounds like it's also good to take this slow, at least like the first time, because there's a lot of side stuff that will just be rendered incompletable if you like past a certain point.
Yeah,
you can't, even on like New Game Plus or whatever, you can't do that stuff.
And I think the side stuff is worth doing for the narrative parts of it.
Totally.
It sucks, but it's interesting.
Yeah, like I will say, mechanically they're not extremely engaging. No. It's a lot of basically fetch quests. It's like the quest design. The quest design is straight out of a 10+ year-old JRPG. So
and like MMO.
Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah,
a Realm Reborn.
But honestly, so I had been doing mainly just main story stuff, but then I was like, you know what? I like being in the world of NieR. Let's just like, it's a cozy world despite all of its nihilism and just depressing topics and everything like that. So I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna slow down. I'm gonna stop where I'm at in the main story, which is like, I just rescued the shopkeeper's, like the kid shopkeeper's mother, we'll say, or learned the story of that, and now I'm on to the next part. I was like, yeah.
I mostly remember all this stuff, but I really should play this version of it, because apparently there's really some cool new shit in it too. That isn't
I don't know what the new shit is, but one of the new shits. Sorry,
I've heard it's not monumental to the story. It's not like new revelations or anything, but it's like cut content that's cool to play, even if it's not huge for the story.
That's neat. Yeah, like I will say some of the new shits that it's got is the fact that literally every line is voice acted by every character, like even
That's
side
awesome.
characters. Like,
and it's the original cast too, as far as I know.
yep, it is. And like if you just go to a random NPC just walking around a village, and there's lots of them in your NieR Replicant, much more so than like NieR Automata, you only really had like the village that had people, and then like the robot village would have robots that you could talk to, and that was kind of it. Like you would get random stuff in the desert where you could talk to people, but here there's lots more just wandering people, and every single one you talk to, they got voice acting, and the voice
That's
acting
awesome.
is all good, and the localization is good. It's good. I'm enjoying it a lot so far. I'm about 11-ish hours in, and yeah, it's probably gonna take me a week or two to actually finish it. But it's NieR, baby. If you like NieR, you should play it. If you don't know if you'll like NieR because you've never played it, know that it's old for one. This game in particular, and know that it takes some time. But once you put in the time, it's 100% worth it.
I actually think it's a game that is, if you're like an enthusiast at all, I think you should play it, because I think it's a game that is like still staggeringly unique. The only other game that I can think of like it is NieR Automata, and even then I still think that NieR has a sensibility that is separate from Automata. The original NieR does, and it is, I think, playing both of those games is a really great look at actual storytelling from an artistic perspective, and seeing concepts like rhyming, narrative rhyming, and a lot of the concepts are more philosophical and kind of metaphorical than what you get in a lot of, or the more complex allegories and metaphors than what you get in a lot of games. It's not just like, like this represents war and war is bad. It's much more esoteric and kind of heady than what you get in a lot of games, without being super pretentious. That's the thing that is so impressive to me about, that's what's so impressive to me about Yoko Taro's storytelling, is that it doesn't come off like Disco Elysium is one of my favorite written games ever. You can make an argument that it's got some pretentious stuff in it. I tend to agree with a lot of what it's saying, and I don't have a problem with that at all, but you never feel playing NieR like you're being talked down to or having something explained to you, which I think is what is like having a concept explained to you. I mean, of course, characters explain things, but I don't know. I think if you have any love for narrative in games, I really do think it's worth playing, because I personally feel, having thought about it a lot, they're both pretty incredible stories in my opinion, but I think I appreciate the original NieR story a little more than Automata, personally. Even though I love Automata as well. Why.
But like also, Allison, you were kind of talking about this in our chat. With like, you never finished NieR Automata or Automata, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
Automata. I always say automata because I think automatons. But anyways,
yeah,
I think you're right.
I think so too.
I think you're correct that that's the pronunciation. I just say automata because that's what I always said.
Because it's cozy.
Yeah.
I don't actually care. Pronounce it however you want.
It's something that I wanted to finish, but I just never did for, I don't know, stuff got in the way. It happens.
Automata is the plural of automaton, so
yeah, it's automata.
I didn't realize it was. I thought it was just like a fake word, but
no.
Hey, you learned something today, Andre.
We learned today.
But Allison, I might suggest you play this first because
because I've seen a lot of discourse about like which one should you play first.
When you mentioned it, I was like, "Fuck that! Play NieR 1 first," and I didn't mean to be like aggressive about it.
No. You weren't. I just saw people on the Twitter saying, "Oh, play Automata first or Automata first."
Yeah,
and
like I think having played Automata and really really loved it. Going back and having like kind of like, it's like watching a sequel and then finding all of the references in the original, like a movie or a book or something like that, and then be like, oh, this would have been way more impactful had I known that. Like things like I'll just say these without context, like the library. Like when that scene happens in Automata, my mind would have been fucking blown.
Yeah.
Or like the fact that Devla and Popola, like who are they're really major characters in the original NieR. Like, and you don't really get that from the sequel. Like, it's like, oh, I didn't realize that these were so central.
What I'll be interested to see is if, I mean, it's clear that they're going to make another NieR game because
I hope so.
Square has talked about it as being a franchise, and Square would have had no reason to remaster this game if they weren't going to make another one.
They wouldn't be putting like tons of work into Final Fantasy
this is
14,
a lot of effort into
the raids.
Like they maybe would have remastered this one so people could buy it again, but they wouldn't have done a full repass on the voice acting and stuff unless
they're putting a lot into this. If they were just like, I don't know, we just want to be nice to people, like
without any spoilers. Like there certainly are the things you're saying, Alex, but also if you are someone who's like, I'm allergic to playing NieR Replicant, I mean, you can play Automata first. It's not like there's some like deep narrative link that requires you to play them. It's not Star Wars.
It's just more of a like personal preference. And
imagine if all the Final Fantasy games took place in the same world, but still had very separate narratives. That's kind of what this is like.
Totally. Yeah. And like when you in NieR Automata, when you get to Kaine's hut, like that has so much more significance from playing the original NieR and knowing what it means. Like, and then there's some things about like NieR Automata where you see 2B and 9S being like, huh, that's interesting, but like they don't have the context. And as a player, that's also how I felt. I was like, huh, okay, I assume this has meaning, but I don't know it, but now I do. So I think both perspectives are completely valid, but I think it's might be more interesting if you come at it the other way.
My plan is hearing people talk about NieR Replicant makes me want to just buy it and play it now, but I don't really have time to do that with everything else I'm doing. What I'd like to do is when I get to the point in Final Fantasy where I can do the NieR raids. Oh yeah. Before I do those, although my friend spoiled a bunch of the stuff in those to me, and I was like, shut the fuck up. He kept asking me questions because he hasn't played Automata. And I was like, you asking me these questions are spoilers, so please stop. But he wouldn't stop.
It's really cool because now
you should have just spoiled the entire game for him.
I should have. You're right.
That's the only
fight spoilers with spoilers.
It's fine.
Only escalation is the answer.
It seems like there's a lot more to see in the NieR raid. Anyway, I want to play. I want to play Replicant and Automata back to back because I played the original NieR a few months before I played Automata, and I had already forgotten some of the particular references that were being made in Automata. So I think it would be interesting to play them back to back to see how much aspects of their world building and narratives actually do link, because they do certainly rhyme. So it would be interesting. I don't know. It's
Yeah, and one, I guess I'll just leave it as a last thought. Like, we're going to talk about this more probably next week or the week after when I finish it. But I love the characters in this. Oh, Grimoire Vice,
yes,
fucking rules. Kaine fucking rules.
Yes,
like their voice acting is all really good. Kaine is so good because they play her
an incredible character.
Because they really do play her like in her first introduction to be like, oh, she's a standard JRPG pretty girl. But then one of the first things she says is like, oh, I'm gonna rip out their fucking eyeballs and piss in their sockets and stuff like that. And you're like, okay, Kaine.
Yep. She has an immense amount of depth and development over the course of those games. She's basically like a swearing version of how if only Nomura had been able to play these games before Kingdom Hearts, because maybe then Kairi would be as cool as Kaine. Because like in a lot of ways she's like all of what you would have wanted from a character like that. I mean, except for
awesome.
Kairi is in a Kingdom Hearts is a kid's game, so probably shouldn't say shit pig, but
she is a great compound swearer. Like
and there's no overselling it. I mean, it's like whatever the worst amount of profanity you can cram together in a sentence, she's saying it.
Yeah, and Laura Bailey nails the voice acting in the English version.
Yes,
she's
gotta
amazing.
Get her together with the boys from Days Gone so they can learn a thing or two.
Yep,
expand their vocabulary.
Yep.
if I'm not mistaken, she's also the voice actor for people like Trunks in Dragon Ball Z. So like you can kind of you can like kind of picture Trunks saying all this.
She has some of that like I don't know what the actual voice acting term for it is, but there's like a kind of gruffness and edge to Kaine's voice that is in Trunks's voice as well.
Not like vocal fry, is it?
No,
it's like not really.
No.
Yeah, but it's
anyway,
vocal fry is like that's kind of like if you get a little bit of harshness to the voice that is there, but it's like you're talking about like a tonality almost.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah. It's Kaine's a great character, and the more you learn as you go on, there's literal stuff in there where I was like, oh, really?
Yeah.
And it's
there's
cool.
So much of that. Oh, even just some of the side quests. Sorry, I will leave it around here, but like, there's just like little side quests that tell tiny narratives within themselves that are just like you could just do a full paper on them. Like if you were wanting to do an academic paper on like the arc that they've told here, like The Lady in the Lighthouse, like that little short story, like you could talk about it a lot. Like the one with the old man looking for his dog, you could totally just have a little, you could write a lot about that.
It's really good.
It's short. Like it's just side quests.
You've gotten to the desert stuff. Have you gotten to like Foundation and stuff like that?
Yes, that's actually where I stopped for
cool.
for the main story, because I know that Foundation has some shit in it. So.
It's really cool. Really cool.
All right. Well, that's NieR Replicant version 1.2234. I don't know.
4744877139.
Apple pie. Well, that's not the only new game that came out last week.
I think so.
It's like Friday or something.
Last Friday.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we've got more. The new games keep coming. We got Allison. You brought.
I don't stop coming.
Just speaking of your favorite portmanteau.
And they hit the ground running.
That's the only reason I could think of it is new Pokemon Snap is here. Yay!
Was it worth the 20-year wait?
You know, okay. So
it's more than 20 years at this point, isn't it?
You know,
it was about 20 years. Well, I feel like it's one of those series where I'm really glad they made another one, but I don't know if it necessarily has the legs to be like a series that has like a ton of entries in it. So at a certain point, like, having this be so much later and being new is just kind of, I feel special, because you're just going like, you don't see just the gradual increase. You see, oh, wow, things look really beautiful, and here are the new improvements. And then, oh, here's the character from the first game. What a glow up. And, you know, it's just nice.
So wait, sorry, the character from the kid in the little trucky thing is in this again?
He shows up as a character. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Is he like old and grizzled? Because
no, I mean he's not old and grizzled, but he's an adult, which is like I saw something
life
like
expectancy in the Pokemon world like 30, and that's why they have to send the kids all out at like the age of 8 to 10.
Is he still holding his camera, and does he have like the apples and stuff on his belt?
Remember, I just saw him show up recently, and I was like, oh, it's you. But
my boyfriend.
Yeah, but it's a fun. I think that basically, if what you want is Pokemon Snap but more and updated, it is absolutely worth playing, because it is that to a T. And so it's just it's a very cozy game to be able to just chill out and take pictures of Pokemon and throw apples at them and be like, oops, sorry, I hit you in the head with an apple, but no worries, right? And there are no worries. So it's just like, if you want just a really chill game, it's a fun one to play, especially if you actually like Pokemon. I mean, I guess I wouldn't really suggest it if you aren't a Pokemon fan, especially with the price tag. $60 is kind of a lot. I mean, but there's a fair amount of content. I mean, compared to the original game, which was extremely light on the content. Yeah. Whereas here, there's a lot. Yeah. I feel like there's a lot more kind of places you can go with it, especially since a lot of it is a lot of it is framed as like you are helping this research team. So you need to get pictures of Pokemon and all like that kind of explains why they like the grading system is like, this is what's going to be the most helpful for us for our research. So we want to have the whole Pokemon in the frame, have it be in the center of the frame, be close. Like it's not so much like, hey, like, why are you, what about my aesthetics? But it's like kind of more of like, hey, this is what's going to be helpful for research. So I think kind of makes that kind of grading system make a little bit more sense. But also you have to like categorize, there's star rankings for Pokemon, which are basically just like, they aren't necessarily quality, but more of like, these are the different like kind of situations you can find Pokemon in, where it's like 1 star is just kind of basically hanging out, and then the other stars are more like activity and doing interesting things. So it's there's a lot more kind of to the, I feel like, photo taking aspect of it, that in addition to having more courses, having an actual probably pretty light on the ground, but actually there's narrative tying it all together, and objectives and things. So it's, I don't know how much there is to it, but I'm just really enjoying playing it so far. And it as somebody that played like an upsetting amount of Pokemon Snap back in the day, this is just feels very much like, you know, it has the nostalgia feels to me, where I'm just like, because my Nintendo 64 ended up being mostly a Pokemon system, to be perfectly
It's funny.
honest.
I was thinking about it the other day. I like the Nintendo 64 Pokemon games more than I like pretty much any generation of mainline Pokemon, aside from a couple. Like I don't like it as much as the Game Boy ones, but
they had a lot of good shit on that system.
Where is the sequel to Hey You Pikachu?
So
God,
I
fuck
fucking
that.
loved Hey You Pikachu. I was a kid, so
I
I'm
loved
as
it
an
as
adult.
a kid. It's not a good game, but like in hindsight, but like as a kid, you're like, I get to talk to Pikachu. Like,
but seriously, I wish they would make another game like that, because I think like it was a clever game. It was doing stuff like with the microphone and stuff that was so out there that it meant that like the actual gameplay had its issues, but I don't know.
You're yelling like, reel it in, Pikachu, for like while it tries to catch a fish, and you're just like, get the, or in the one where you're trying to make food, you're like, get the carrot, and it's like Pikachu's like, what? And you're like, carrot, and then it just like runs away, and you're
with
just like
Windows speech recognition, it could be great.
oh heck. Yeah.
I imagine you could make a phone app with that right now. That, like,
totally.
That would be amazing. Like basically just like a buddy app that like like a bonsai buddy, but Pikachu on your phone.
And isn't malware.
and isn't malware. Exactly.
And then also other request is, where is the sequel to the Lickitung sushi minigame from Pokemon Stadium?
That game slaps.
They should make another Pokemon Stadium anyway, because that game is.
No, I don't give a shit about that.
That game's so good.
I only want. Well, they should, so they can get all the perverts who only care about competitive out of like the regular Pokemon game. So they play it, they take their Pokemon, they get out, they get into Pokemon Stadium, they're done. They gotta give us just the Lickitung minigame as a standalone $60 product.
Again, those mini games are very much like, I played upsetting amounts of those mini games.
Let's be honest, they don't need to make another Pokemon Stadium, because the mainline Pokemon games at this point have the same level of fidelity that Stadium did. Like the thing that was cool was seeing them in 3D.
It was like, oh my god, Pokemon! It's like they're real, and you're like, in hindsight, you're like the Nintendo 64 graphics, but
they should make another Pokemon tournament, and that's where they should put the Lickitung minigame.
Sure.
That would make me buy Pokken, which is a big ask, but I would buy it for the Lickitung minigame.
So
being back.
So Allison, I have a question.
Yeah.
So I also played a lot of Pokemon Snap many years ago, and brought my memory cart to Blockbuster Video to print stuff off and all of that stuff. But so like the thing you like you said, original Pokemon Snap, that's a short dang game, and what it encourages
light on the ground for content.
But what it encourages is for you to replay the same levels over and over to get like different interactions and like, you know, basically get the perfect run. Is it similar here? Like, is it encouraging you to go back and replay stages a lot?
Yes, absolutely. It absolutely. Well, it's like you also can basically with your scores kind of level up your experience in each course, and then you see different Pokemon and you see more Pokemon.
Oh, so it's like
as
Hitman.
you level up. So it's kind of like there are more courses,
mastery.
but also there's like it's not you know. I think if you've played a lot of Pokemon Snap, there's like the very specific, like the first beach level, you know exactly where all the Pokemon are going to go.
Yeah, because you've played it so many times.
Because you've played it so many times that you see like you just see it in your head. You see
the Matrix.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas here, there's like you can, there's a lot more replayability where it's not just okay. I know exactly where all these are going to be. You level up, and then also you're like, I want to see if I can get a different pose for these Pokemon, and like I took a picture with just it hanging out, but now I'm going to throw an apple at its face and hopefully see that'll do something different. So I think that there's a lot, they added a lot more content in here, which is cool, because I think a lot of the fear about this, which is, I think, understandable, is that if they were just going to do a really faithful, here's Pokemon Snap, but in the, again, you can theoretically beat Pokemon Snap very quickly if you just want to, you know, see all the courses. But here I feel like there's more reason to take the pictures, and then also more reason to replay, and more reason
there's also like quite a few more courses than the original Pokemon Snap. Look, original Pokemon Snap only had like 5 or 6 courses, right?
Yeah,
like,
I think 6.
It was pretty limited.
Yeah. Here, I think, okay, so a lot of the courses have different variants, which I think feel very different. Like they're like the first course you do has like daytime and then nighttime, so that, but you see completely different Pokemon in it. So even though you're going through kind of a similar path, it's just if since your goal is to take pictures of Pokemon, it's completely different. I think with all of those variants, there's something like 24. I looked it up, but it's like it's not like 24 completely different biomes and areas, but it's 24 including the various variants and things. But
do you still get because in the original you had an apple and you had like the piss them off ball? Do you still get both of those?
I don't know, but I think
there's a lot more stuff, and
I
they
don't
dole
think
it
there's
out over
pester
time.
balls though.
Yeah, that's what was pester. Thank you.
But they're kind of they give it to you gradually, because there's a lot more kind of a tutorial about this one, where it's like at first you don't get the apples, and then suddenly it's like, oh, hey, you can have apples now, and it adds a different dimension.
Dynamic.
But
I saw Ricardo Contreras on Twitter say they took the pester balls out, but that there's other stuff in there. It's not just the apples, and
there's other ways to piss them off.
It's like weird berries and stuff. And
there's also like a lot of photo editing stuff in there that wasn't in the original.
It's nice to hear that you said you can go back and retake a photo or whatever at the end of the course. That's good to hear, because the thing that was putting me off of it was Ricardo from over at Vice did a really good review that was not entirely positive. I think he in general liked the game, but he was saying that one of his frustrations was you can sometimes, because of the way that the photo grading system works, you can take a photo that's like artistically very interesting and good, but the game gives it a shitty score, versus like a bad picture getting scored higher.
I think that they try to do couch that with like, this is about research, you know.
Sure.
So that's their justification for having like having a system that's not going to be able to do artistically.
Yeah.
He shared, it's not Umurangi generation.
No, he shared one picture of an Arbok curled around a tree, and it didn't even see the Arbok. Like, it was like, you didn't take a picture of a Pokemon, but it's like, clearly there.
Do you have eyes?
Oh,
But
yeah, but you can retake them if you want to afterwards and be like, okay, I'm gonna try and take like the most aesthetically pleasing one, and then you can kind of mess around with the various settings. They also have a bunch of stickers and stuff. So I made a very like Precra-ass picture of Magikarp that was very fun.
Cool.
Hell yeah.
And I was just like, whereas I started putting a bunch of stickers on it and messing around with the brightness and messing around with the stuff. So there's a lot of stuff that you can do with those, and to the point where they're selling or they're doing like an app that you can connect these Fujifilm Instax printers, which are basically like instant photos, but you print them off from your smartphone. So they're doing that for Pokemon Snap, and I am like, at first I was like, why would you do that? And now I'm kind of like, do I need to buy one of those printers though?
I don't think they're the scary thing is they're only like $100 too.
See,
they're not like
they're not terrible.
Well,
it's not an intense barrier to entry, actually.
No, I mean it's not like it's $20.
The only intensity is that they're sold out everywhere because everybody's had the same idea, and they're like, everybody's like, oh shit, this is a good idea.
You don't actually need the Pokemon branded one to do it. It'll work.
No, it's like you just have to buy. But you can buy any kind with that.
When I found out about this, I was like, that thing's pretty small. It fits in like a drawer, and I could use it also to print pictures of like pets.
Right. That's the thing, is that it's also not just for Pokemon. It's something that you can use to print off like anything from your mobile phone that you've taken.
So you can print off all your favorite memes and put them on your wall, like a cool.
Exactly.
Your office.
Don't tempt me. I would totally.
Okay, that is tempting, actually.
Once you have an office to go to.
Just gonna have a bunch of these in the background.
Yeah.
I'm holding up a big box of Umineko stuff.
Nerd.
So I have to say this is a little morbid, and I'm sorry, but last night I was like workshopping a way to try to ask Andre if he's gonna to ask if the Pokemon will follow the train, the little like vehicle, and if that will get Andre to play it. And then I started thinking about like this game, but the trolley problem, where there's Pokemon tied to the train tracks, and only Professor Elm or whoever it is can pull the lever but he doesn't, because he wants to research you destroying them.
So on one track we've got Pikachu, on the other track we've got Squirtle, Charmander, and Bulbasaur, and it's gonna, which one do you hit?
Well, thankfully the vehicle moves at like 2 miles an hour, so you could probably get out and untie them before it even gets to them.
Nope, you are also tied in, and the only thing you can do is use your foot to change the track. It's the only way. They're tied to the. You got to choose.
Well, you have to save the most lives. That's the whole point of the trolley problem.
But what if it's a bunch of rich people, and then just one poor Pikachu?
I'm not going to answer these. This was not the point of my bringing this joke up.
Hyper-capitalist Bulbasaur, Charmander, Squirtle.
First of all, Pikachu.
Well,
Pikachu is the hyper-capitalist in that equation.
The hyper-capitalist is Meowth, like canonically.
Yes.
Hey, you don't discriminate against Meowth just because he was born with money
inside of him.
And
on his forehead.
With Lil Uzi Vert looking motherfucker.
God. So, Allison, do you recommend new Pokemon Snap?
Yes.
Awesome.
I feel like also it's not something where it's like, if you have zero interest in Pokemon, like it's not something where I'm like, everybody needs to play this game. But I feel like if the idea of new Pokemon Snap sounds good to you, then yes, you should play it.
And man, they should do a partnership with the Umurangi generation, and do a filter.
The Umurangi generation account tweeted like, "Yay, happy Pokemon Snap Day" or something yesterday. So I mean,
I would love to
That's
see them
cute.
collaborate somehow.
It's like just like make a game where you can like walk around the spaces instead of being on like a track. Like this is
Yeah,
2021. Like
I think though that it's
it's the gameplay
really
loop of that.
Pokemon
Yeah.
Snap is actually a rail shooter.
yeah,
Secretly.
Oh yeah.
Totally.
I
It
think
is.
that's like the core of what it is. I don't
Yeah.
even know. Like, I think you're right that I think what they could have done was added, like, they could have played off a Sword and Shield and said, like, there's 20 courses and one wild area where you have like
sure.
one area where you run around and take pictures of Pokemon on foot. That would
Yeah.
be kind of cool. But I actually could see them
Bandai Namco can
adding
make
something
games
like
that
that
look
too.
good, so yeah. Well, that's new Pokemon Snap,
New.
not to be confused with Pokemon Snap.
Thank you.
And we got one more new game this week, and
Wow.
three of us have been playing it. Alex cannot play it because
cannot.
finally it's been 4, 5, 6 months since a PlayStation 5 exclusive. I guess it's been like 3 because what was
the first one other than Astro's Playroom?
Demon Souls?
Oh,
Souls,
yeah. Well, yeah.
We had the Destruction All Stars.
Yeah, that game's
Was
fun.
that-
You shouldn't buy
was
a
that-
PlayStation 5 for that game.
Oh yeah,
No.
it was a PS5 only game. You're right.
Yeah,
I've
and
not
now-
touched that game at all anymore. So, you know.
Now we've got the newest PS5 exclusive. It's Returnal.
I would argue perhaps the best. Also, I mean, Demon Souls notwithstanding, Demon Souls is a remake, so I'm not really trying to. It's too hard to make a comparison between those
There's
two.
not a lot of competition either.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but even I don't know. I think this is probably my favorite thing Sony's put out in a while. For me.
And it's so interesting that it's made by Housemarque.
Oh, and I was so skeptical of it because while I appreciate what Housemarque does, I've never particularly liked their games because I just don't like arcade.
Yeah.
Yeah. Super
revival
Stardust
games.
and Resogun and
It's the only
Next Machina and all that.
Yeah, the only game in that
Machina.
lineage that has worked for me is Pac-Man Championship Edition. Otherwise, the whole like that's other. I just haven't really clicked with arcade games that have come out more recently than But
And
Returnal is
not
It
one
is.
of those.
Well, playing it, I had this very much like, oh, this is Pat's vibe. Like,
Oh, yeah.
while playing it.
it was very much a game made for me for sure.
I was like playing it last night, and I was like, I see. Okay, the kind of both the sci-fi and the horror elements of it. I was like,
Well, it's basically Prometheus, the game. And my favorite movie ever is Alien, and I pretty deeply love Prometheus
it does have
too.
those vibes with like the spook.
I mean, it has more creatures in it than Prometheus did because Prometheus is a movie, but
Yeah.
it is like almost exactly that
But
aesthetic.
oh man, I do love the vibe of Returnal.
so
though. It is so
cool.
cool.
Yeah.
It's like very. Also, I put it on my cheap headphones that I'm wearing for this, so they're very very cheap for the audio. And it got like way immersive last night when I was playing it.
It
I
sounds
was
great.
like.
I was using my PS4 Sony Gold headset. And,
I'm like,
it's
that's
great.
another one where I'm like, should I just buy good headphones for this?
Yeah.
I should use my headphones for it. But have to pay attention to my girlfriend too. But
It's good on this. It's good on my soundbar too. It's a good sounding game.
Yeah, I just wanted to have that 3D audio because of the immersion aspect of it, and it was like,
Yeah.
I yelled at my TV.
It is a weirdly immersive game for being a third person shooter that is also a roguelike. It is interesting how arresting it is and how much it it wants you to like not pay attention to anything else.
Oh, absolutely
it's
not.
kind of cool.
Like with other games, like I like having the kind of being able to multitask and
Yeah, sure.
podcast while I play Pokemon Snap or something. Whereas here it's like I cannot do anything else.
Yes.
Returnal. It is all consuming. And
Are you gonna ask something, Alex? I'm sorry. It seems like you were trying to say something.
Well, I'm just curious, like, so two sides, like Prometheus-y, it has that aesthetic, but is it super horror-y?
it's got like moments of like spookiness and like tension. Like
And then also,
narratively,
I feel like a lot of the design of it is like
it's got
enemies
like
are-
Stranger Things type, like the dogs from
Yes.
Stranger Things season
creepy.
3.
And the enemies are just like can be kind of like disturbing in their designs. Like there's like these bat creatures, and there, and when you read the description for them, it's like these are fucking weird, and they move so fast at times that they must have some ability to control space-time, and you're like, oh, that's unsettling. But it's not. One is it's not really a resource management game. Like it has stuff you collect that makes you more powerful, and there is a currency you use to buy stuff mid-run from like vending machines, but effectively, you don't have to manage ammo at all. All the ammo is like recharges and stuff. So it's not really survival horror in any way. But it does have those moments of
spooky trappings. Yeah.
and there are a couple of points where I'll be walking around and then an enemy will kind of jump out and I'll be like,
it's not like full jump scares, but it is kind of like, oh, okay, we got to move now.
Oh, that is a creepy thing. What am I doing?
It has, for being a roguelike, it has good dynamics of like quiet loud, where you're running around an area trying to find everything, and it's pretty safe because you've already fought the enemies there, to going into a new area and then like the music picks up and there's like stuff shooting at you and it's crazy.
Although there was the one time where they're like, hey, you can rest here, and I was like, okay, and so then I rested there, and then I woke up and suddenly there were enemies attacking me, and I was just like,
oh, that's wild. I haven't had that happen.
Oh my god, it was
I found the restrooms before, but I've
not come across any of those. What?
I got into the restroom, I like slept, and then as I woke up, like these giant enemies started attacking me, and I was like,
oh, that's unsettling.
What?
I thought I was safe.
There's rooms with like big huge concrete slabs that you can climb onto.
Those things.
Rest
not like a toilet.
Not like a
No,
toilet. I know. I was trying to find.
Let's be honest. She relieves herself in the suit. Come on.
Yeah.
Well, if she
can't take the suit off, it's an alien atmosphere. Anyway,
she's probably gonna die and then just be Groundhog Day'd back to the start of the place.
So what is the gameplay loop?
It's go out onto this alien forest, shoot some aliens until you die, and collecting things like ether. That's one of the consistent currency. That's the consistent currency, and it's a roguelike.
I think the difference is it's much closer. I think a lot of people are going to come to this having played Hades. There is much less progression in this game outside of the in-run progression than there is in Hades. You are unlocking new things that stick new pieces of equipment, and this is where people are making the Metroidvania comparison, although it's really not one of those games. And it'll be things like I won't get too deep on mechanical spoilers because there's some that you get and you're like, holy shit, this is rad. But it's just like little things that maybe will give you things like a double jump or something. I actually haven't encountered that, but I assume it's in there.
I assume there's a double jump. I think there's like a grappling hook type thing.
I saw that there's a grappling hook, and I am so hyped for the grappling.
Yeah. So those things oftentimes will give you new capabilities in combat, but then they'll also allow you to reach new parts of rooms that you've seen before. Because what happens, the way the game is structured is it's like there's like
prefab parts.
It's prefabricated. I don't even want to call them rooms because they're not like a uniform shape like they are in something like Hades. Or Binding of Isaac or whatever. Instead, they're much more like flowing environments that they kind of chunk together.
I don't know about that. I feel like I've like gotten to the point where like they can like have like different secrets and like kind of layouts of things in the room, but like I'm like, oh, I know exactly what this room is like. I know how I'm going to approach the combat in here.
No, what I'm saying is there's like 15 different completely different rooms.
Oh yeah.
They're not just squares. They're not just like squares and rectangles. Is what I'm saying.
Okay, yeah.
They're
like
definitely the same ones over and over.
Almost like Risk of Rain 2 or something. How those
that's
it's procedural generation with like tile sets almost.
Yes, but more Risk of Rain 2, if I want to say, is like the same maps, Like, I don't think the stuff within them, like where items are located, changes, but I think the maps are pretty much the same.
Yeah.
But it is closer to that than it is to something like Binding of Isaac or Hades or Dead Cells, where it's, or maybe Dead Cells is kind of a better comparison.
Yeah,
where
Dead Cells is pretty spot
it's
on.
like kind of bigger flowing spaces, but there's like 10 or 15 of them or something that get rearranged. And each room is going to be this, like when you enter the if you've watched the trailers, you've seen that there's like this house that you can find. When you go into the room that has the house in it, it always looks the same when you walk into the room. But they space them differently, so you encounter them in different orders and stuff. But yeah, you go in and then you have these kind of persistent pieces of equipment that give you access to more stuff to find. You're picking up health upgrades. You're picking up a currency that you can use to buy consumables, and the consumables are pretty varied. Actually, they can be anything as simple as a health pack to things that are like kind of complex, like your next your enemy attacks like become currency, and I don't know how that one works, but and you find weapons too.
There's a lot of stuff, and then like there are so many like systems on top of systems in here. Like there's the parasites, and they'll weaken you but also strengthen you, so you get so you get more damage, like more melee damage, but less like cooldown. Like your cooldown on your alt fire will be longer, for example, or something like that. And I actually really like the design of that stuff, because you can see it, like you can see the parasites latching on to your character's suit, and they're like, as you get more and more, they're just like all over and like on your back and around your arms and your legs, and it's like really creepy and unsettling.
There's also this malfunction system, which is inspired, that can happen from putting parasites on. It can happen from opening certain chests, where you'll get a warning that there's a risk that you'll receive a malfunction for accepting some kind of bonus. And the malfunction will be things. It can be a shitload of stuff. It can be anything from like, you can't jump, to like you can't buy things from vending machines. I got one that was, you can't pick up new weapons, and you have to clear the malfunction by doing a certain like quest, basically like picking up a certain amount of currency, killing a certain amount of enemies, that kind of thing.
Kind of like the Hades chaos system in a way.
A little bit, but kind of built in.
Yeah. Dead Cells had a similar thing with like the cursed chests.
Right.
Yep. And it works really well, I think. And the weapons are really cool too. I've only found, I think 4 of them so far, but there's like,
I think I've found 3.
There's like 25 slots in the menu. There's a ton of these weapons.
I found a shotgun, the pistol, starting pistol, and a rifle, like an assault rifle.
Yeah, I've found the shotgun. It's kind of like a SMG almost, but maybe we didn't get the same. Or I guess it's kind of longer range, so it's more like an AR. I found one that's like a sort of like a light machine gun from other shooters too. That's a longer range, higher fire rate.
Was that in the first biome, or?
Yeah, I found like a pin gun too that like shoots pylons, and it creates little webs that do DOTs when enemies stand in them.
I've not found anything like that.
Weapons are super varied for sure.
I feel like I've been finding like the same, like I said, the same 3 the entire time. I beat the first boss right before we started this podcast, so I'm into the second biome. We'll see if there's any other if I start finding new weapons and stuff. But the way that like the kind of the aesthetic change is pretty cool, because in the first biome everything is everything's pretty closed in, like you're in distinct like rooms. But in the second biome, it's kind of just like a big open area. They're still like funneling you in a direction, but it feels much more open, and
that's cool.
Interesting.
It's definitely, and then I think the narrative stuff is going to be pretty hit or miss for people, because it's trading in like very specific. Like if you enjoy things like Interstellar, you will probably like the narrative that's happening here. It's very much that kind of thing, and I don't know what quality it's going to come out as, because it's the kind of narrative where I loved Interstellar until the last like 15 minutes of that movie. And then I was like, wait, this sucks.
It's a long movie.
But a lot of other people love that movie. So, you know, I mean, and I certainly like the genre of narrative that it's telling, which is this like what's going on, big mystery that involves, you know, space time and all kinds of weirdness. And the way that it delivers the narrative is pretty interesting because it uses pretty unexpected points to deliver some narrative stuff. And I don't know how much that stays consistent as you go further in the game, but early on there's kind of a lot of stuff happening with the story that is not answers, but you get a lot of it. It's
You're finding audio logs a lot of the time, and like they kind of like, you're not finding just random audio logs, like they're deliberately spaced and like put into the game, like, you know, put in your path, so you'll come across and they're just like, okay, you get like the first audio log, the second audio log, the third one, but you're getting like, you know, you're hearing also yourself from these audio logs, and you're getting like, okay, like I'm starting to like get an idea of what's going on. I feel like I'm getting hints of what's to come, but like I'm like, shit, I feel like I should be encountering some of this stuff that they're talking about by now.
I was surprised at how quickly it just goes like, oh yeah, she's dying over and over again, and now like she knows. Like I thought that was going to be more of a like, you as the player know, but it's going to take her a few hours to figure it out. But like you encounter a corpse of yourself like in the first room.
And she might be kind of like, I don't know how I feel about that. Like she's still processing it, but you find out right away.
I think it's fun because it leaves the door open to actually telling like a pretty interesting narrative instead of half the game being like her learning that she's returning.
Yeah. And there's a lot of potential for like theorizing what's happening, because I've got my idea about like what's going on, like just vaguely, but I could be totally wrong.
So is there anything about it that makes it feel like it could only be a PS5 game? Like, could this be a PS4 game?
No.
I
don't think so.
I feel like even just the controller, like responsiveness. I don't know. Like,
so I think you could make that. It does. I think it uses the controller better than anything other than maybe Astrobot, and I think it's, you know, a more thick with two C's thing than Astrobot, so it maintains that. It does. I've heard people complain about it. I haven't had a problem with it. You half pull the trigger to aim, the left trigger to aim, and then you full pull it to charge your alt fire. And I think that works really well.
In love with it, but also I'm not usually needing to aim, like to do the zoom in to aim. So like I'm not too bothered by it, but I'm not in love with like the half pull on the trigger.
Yeah, I think it works for me. I've enjoyed it a lot, but I also, that may partly be because I also played, I didn't mention it, I played a bunch of MotoGP 21 this week, which does incredible trigger stuff and also involves a lot of like carefully pulling the trigger. So I've gotten pretty good at like not at like recognizing those trigger stops and laying off instead of having to be very careful with like slow pulling. But I think more than that stuff, I think it is a game that kind of needs to run at 60 frames a second to feel good because of how fluid the combat is. And I don't think, I guess they could like dial the visuals back, but
take out all the foliage.
Yeah, like there's so much foliage, there's so many particle effects. It's raining like all the time,
well,
and so the rain like, looks gorgeous.
Weird like tendrils coming off the wall, like bioluminescent stuff, like coming out to like try and touch you. And
particle effects make sense given Resogun.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. It is very much a Housemarque game when the combat starts because enemies shoot like it's a bullet hell.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very much like NieR, actually. Automata, anyway.
The first boss is just like, I'm gonna shoot up a bunch of things, and they're gonna slowly come down from the sky, and then I'm also gonna shoot like quicker bullets at you, and you have to like dodge all that stuff. Absolutely
a Housemarque action game when it comes to the combat, because you are dealing with literal bullet hell situations where you're all about you're dashing and stuff. And I just don't think it would work that well without the PS5's processing power. Like I think like, you could.
It feels like a next gen game, kind of.
It totally does. Yeah. I think that my assumption would be that they looked at also releasing it on PS4 because they've been doing that with other exclusives, and that they just said we can't make this work in a way that is a good representation of the product on that system. So, but it is too bad that it's a Sony exclusive and not something you could play on like PC.
Yeah,
because I think
I bet it'll come to PC in like a year or two.
It'll come to PC if they had saves, because you can't. There's no way you could make that work on a PC right now. You can rest your console, but you can't really do that with a PC.
I was gonna say, have any Housemarque games been on PC? But yes, the Nex Machina did.
Oh yeah. The save stuff is like, we kind of talked about it a little bit.
We don't have to get too deep into it.
Yeah, it is like a bummer that like the runs do take a while. Just to like get up your gear. And I realized after playing for a while, they're like, oh, I found the boss key. I don't need to find it again. I can just go straight to the boss if I find it.
Yep.
It took me multiple runs to realize that after like my first attempt, which I almost beat my first try, but then I had to like stop and put it into rest mode for dinner. And then I came back and like was in rest mode in the boss fight. So I came back and I was like, I've lost my rhythm.
I think this game, there's a potential for this game to be sick as fuck for like speed running people.
Oh, absolutely.
Because it is the kind of game that you can absolutely like. It's hard, to be clear. It's just a hard ass game, but you can take a long time with your run and fully farm the whole area before you move on to the boss, and that makes it significantly, I don't want to say it makes it easy, but it makes it easier.
Well, it's you've got more skills, more damage, more
but you can also just run to the boss from the start with the starting weapon and and fight it. So
but that also depends on what is the layout of the map you got, because it's different every time. Like
that's why it'd be so cool.
I had one time where the first room had the way to the boss, and I was like, oh, okay, well, I can go set up the fast travel point, and then I can go off, because like the level has like teleportation points set throughout, which is very handy.
So it's interesting.
Is there any clear indication of how long like the entire game is?
Because it's 5 biomes, right?
I hear like a full run is somewhere around like 4 to 5 hours.
That would make sense, because
like on like a casual run.
Mostly clearing out the first biome takes about an hour. I did do a full clear. I died on the boss. I almost killed it, but I cleared out the whole area before I went to fight it, and it was like an hour long.
The first time you kind of have to, and there's like a lot of stuff going on in that first run, or like the first time you clear it.
I'm certainly not arguing against a quick save feature, because I think it could only be like an improvement. But at the same time, what I will say is, I think the intent is for you to sit and play it for 5 hours to beat it. I mean, I think that is the game they made, and I think that it's a big ask to ask a player to do that, for sure. But I think they're aware it's a big ask, and they're just like, if you like it enough, you'll do it.
But when a game is $70 and there's no like refund policy, like,
I'm not arguing with you. I just think that I just think Housemarque doesn't control those policies, and I think they made the thing they made to a degree.
And we've talked about like I think it's not trivial. Like obviously it's not a trivial task to implement a new system into a game that was not designed for the system, but like doing something like you can save between biomes. As soon as you leave like the safe space, then your save is done. It's
frankly,
no longer exists. But
I think even more than that is if there's just a save and quit button. I was thinking about this more. Your idea was good, but if there's a save and quit button where you just enter the menu and hit save and quit, and then it suspends your game state, and then once you load it, you can't load that save state again.
You can do that. There's a similar thing too.
And I bet they will implement something like that. But I do think that part of the reason they didn't to start with is because they want you to sit and play it for 5 hours to beat it.
If this game came out last year when everyone was stuck at home, and now things are like becoming less and less like, but I guess still people should probably stay home.
I think
right
like
now,
I'm coming from having, part of the reason that I have this like attitude towards it is I've also been playing a shitload of iRacing, which is a game that for some events it's like
Yeah.
we're going to do a 24-hour endurance race. So set aside an entire weekend for this. And that's just a thing that that you can do with the game and that it asks of you. So I think what's weird is that this is a AAA Sony game that has a big budget and has a ton of huge marketing money behind it.
Yeah.
When I think if this were like a smaller Steam experiment that was upfront about it on the Steam page of like, hey, this game is intended to be played in 1 5-hour chunk. Know that going in, people probably wouldn't find it as concerning or frustrating. But I do think that's kind of what they're going for with it.
So
it's an interesting thing.
Even Dark Souls lets you save and quit anywhere.
Dark Souls is also a 20
it's a different
30-hour game the first time you play it instead of a 5-hour game.
It's a different thing. But there's no like, oh, you have to go back to the bonfire if you log out or whatever. I think just wherever you are, you can just like put it down. But
I think what I'm getting at mostly is I certainly wouldn't argue against a quick save feature being an improvement, but I don't think it's just like, man, fuck this game. I actually think it's interesting that they made the choice that they made. I think it's a fascinating thing to look at as like the intent behind those things.
Sure. Yeah. Just it doesn't become a thing like, okay, if that's how long it takes me is going to take me, like I'm not going to have time to like dive into this during the week. Like I just won't have, I don't have 4 to 5 hours to set aside on a weekday to play it. So I'll have to like wait for the weekend, which is not, if I want to play it, I'd like to be able to like feel like, okay, this could be the run and not go, I'm at the end of the 3rd biome, but I got to go to bed. I got work.
Yeah. I think it's kind of doing a thing where it's more like, okay, this run, I'm going to scout the 2nd biome and figure out like, learn the rooms and find all the stuff. I don't know. I don't think I'm going to beat it this time. I think that's kind of what the point of the systems being as they are is.
Yeah. Also, I use rest mode because
do I.
Yeah. A lot of people, like we were talking to Sam, and Sam's like, oh, I never use rest mode. I always hard quit my game. Like some people, when the PS5 came out, they had some issues, but I feel like those have been pretty like,
isn't it true?
Accurately tied to like external hard drive and certain USB ports being used and stuff like that. I haven't tried it, but issues.
Can't you launch a media app and keep a game suspended?
Yeah, you can do that.
I'm pretty sure you can. So you can like, as long as it's the only game that you have suspended, you can jump over to Netflix or whatever to watch stuff. So because the other thing Sam was saying is like, oh, if his partner decides to use the PlayStation, then it's going to screw up the progress. And I don't think that's true.
She wants to play like Lego Harry Potter though.
Well, that's a different story, but
that which I believe is the one thing that she routinely goes back to. But so. Yeah, there are like ways around like the no save thing. They say like when you boot the game, they say, hey, if you need to step away, use the rest mode.
Now, what I will say is the fact that they say use the rest mode completely defeats the purpose of like, we want you to play it in 1 5-hour chunk. Yeah. So I think if they're already making that argument, adding the quick save feature.
Yeah, they very specifically are like, hey, use the rest mode. So it's like, they could have a quick save.
Like literally like PC games and like Days Gone has a quick save, and you quick save, and then you like PC games will just be like, okay, and we delete the quick save when you load it or whatever. Like that's what they should do for sure. It's not like a new idea.
It's return and eternal, eternally returning.
Oh,
eternal.
Yeah,
get it?
I was in the shower yesterday before I bought this game, and I was like,
good job.
Oh yeah, return. Oh, I get it.
What this
how was the shower?
It was a shower.
Like, did you soap up? Did you soap up your feet?
Not on this most recent shower. No. My feet are pretty clean recently.
You know what? I almost yesterday. I almost used bare feet on my racing pedals because I now have a simulation cockpit, and I have a simulation cockpit that I'm not sitting in. It is currently behind me because I was going to sit in it, and then I was like, it's comfortable, but it's also not quite as comfortable as a real car seat. And after 4 hours in a real car seat, it gets a little uncomfortable. So decided to not set it up yet, but I was strapped into it because you kind of like, it's kind of tough to get in and out
Safety
of.
first.
You don't literally use a seatbelt, but like it has
Good
you have to open up the wheel part
simulation
to climb in and out. And I was like, I forgot to put socks on and I don't want to get back out of this, but I couldn't do it.
Well, we'll get you there.
Returnal.
Eternally return.
Also, that's the first sword.
That is the first trophy that pops is return eternal. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, they just put it right up front.
Wow.
I gotta tell you, I was like, oh yeah, eternally returning because it's a roguelike when it was like first announced.
Wow, you were way ahead of the curve. I just didn't put much thought into it. Games have stupid names.
That's true.
But
it's a good game. If it's hard though. If
What's
you like,
what is a stupid game with a generic name, Andre?
I don't know if it's stupid.
Yes,
but
here we go. This is what I wanted. Fuck, now I gotta play Days Gone.
I completed Days Gone today, and the end of Days Gone had me throw my hands up and go, yes,
good. Yes, this is what I've heard. I needed confirmation.
I was a little emotional. I didn't.
Now that I have unlimited internet.
Son of a bitch.
That I did not cry. I almost cried.
That's a lot though.
It was like, oh, well, I did not expect this game to make me feel something like this, especially like up until this point. And I think I put my finger on the part of like why the early game is just kind of such a downer on Days Gone. And it's because for like the first third of the game, which
is like 20 hours.
It's like maybe like 10, but it's long. I don't actually know what my game time was, but like the first act of the game doesn't have like characters really. Like there are people, but they don't matter to the story outside of Deacon and Boozer, his best friend. And like you get some story Boozer. Stuff, but yeah, well, it's his nickname. He's a biker, but they never get in. They always reference like the reason he calls him Boozer, but they never actually get into it. They're just like, oh, it's a long story, and they never tell the reason. But Boozer's a good character, but he's also one of the only characters that you deal with in the first like act of the game that like has a personality and actually like matters to the story. So it feels very lifeless, and like you meet people and you talk to people, get jobs, and you have the libertarian guy over the radio talking at you with his Radio Free Oregon. But it's a very like solitary thing, and it's like once you get to the second act, you meet more characters and start having more like interactions with people and doing things together. Mm-hmm. And that makes it way more interesting, and the story picks up a little more because you're interacting with other people and you're not just like, I gotta save Boozer because he's got his arm burned and he's going crazy, got like blood poisoning or whatever. So yeah, like once you get to the second half, then like things start to become more interesting. I'm not gonna say it's some amazing story or anything like that. It's like it's fine. It's enjoyable enough because it's got that campy quality of the son of a bitch. I'm gonna get that son of a bitch quality. And like again, everyone is just saying son of a bitch all the time. Like I started up the game once. I pulled my PS5 out of rest mode and booted the game, unpaused it, and Deacon immediately said son of a bitch.
It could be a bark that he does sometimes, like when you load in, like when you play like Just Cause or something, and you come back and it's like, oh, ready to get going. Yeah, it's like that kind of thing, except that's so funny.
I was like, are you kidding me?
You get guns in that game eventually, right?
Yeah, you go to the camps and you buy guns and stuff. So yeah, and eventually you're pretty well kitted out and you're finding ammo and stuff. And the more like basically as you unlock more recipes, more things in the environment become available for you to like pick up and make, and you can like make bombs and traps and like Molotovs and all that kind of stuff. And like you're pulling like oil filters out of cars and turning those into silencers for your weapons and stuff like that.
You know, I've come to a conclusion about something that I have not mentioned on this podcast. I realized every game that I have played that has an oil can suppressor in it. It's true.
And you'll like
I first started noticing this with Modern Warfare.
Okay.
But there's also oil can suppressors in Scum. And
okay,
I like that game too.
Yeah. So there's so much going on in this game, and it, like for a little bit I was feeling kind of down on this back half but I don't like Last of Us 2, and it has oil can suppressors, so maybe that's not
but I like the gameplay.
Soda bottles, aren't they? Those are soda
I can't remember, maybe they are. I like the gameplay. I think that the suppressors are good in that game, but anyway.
So if you remember the way they marketed or like revealed this game, it was the scene of Deacon running through like a lumber mill with like this massive
thousands
horde
of zombies
like hundreds or like 1,000 zombies,
a ton of them.
But that doesn't come into play until like almost the end of the game.
That's what I've heard.
And so it like you encounter like the hordes, but it's basically like you can't deal with these at all, like just don't get out of there. And so in the last like I don't know 10 hours of the game, they're like, and now you're going to deal with these, and like it becomes like a thing you do a few times. And it felt like I feel like I was sold a false bill of goods. Like I thought this would be more of the game, and it just wasn't. And like those
even the second reveal had a lot of that too. Like,
because the whole thing was like, our tech and like the bodies didn't
that game get delayed like over and over again?
I think it got delayed once or twice.
I thought I heard that it was in
development for a long time, so it was probably delayed before it was revealed or something.
I thought I heard
they put a date on it.
They had to ratchet back the amount of that stuff that was in the game because they couldn't get it. Like it was going to be that was going to be most of the game. Like there was going to be a lot more of that stuff, but that those scripted sequences where there were a ton of them were too costly to develop.
They're not actually that scripted. It's just
instead they're just around the world.
Yeah. So like even the one that was like from that demo, it wasn't scripted. It's okay. You're going and you're actually like going around the area and you're setting up. Like you can set up before and like, okay, well I got and like look around and scout the area to like know where you want to run and kind of guide the zombies. The freakers or the freaks is what they call them. Freakers is that what they call? No, I don't know. Okay. Freakers. That's what they call them. Anyway. Yeah. So you're going around and you're like, okay, well I can pull down this door and like close that in. There's like barrels over here and I can like, put a bomb here near this stair and I can like funnel them through. And so you can, make sure to get as many as you can with your explosives and your Molotovs and all that. So that is like, once you're doing it and like get a handle on it, it's fun. But also I found myself having to replay those moments too much. So it became like a chore more than like, oh yeah, this feels badass. And like, I felt like I was using all of my stuff and still like, oh my God, I don't have enough stuff. I'm like running out of ammo and I was mostly leveled up. So that I feel like that could have been balanced a little better. But
how long was your overall playtime?
I don't know. I wasn't counting, but I probably around 40 hours, maybe.
I don't have 40 hours for that game right now, but I do want to play it.
It kind of drags at times. Like there's a lot, like if you mainlined it, because I was doing everything for like a while.
No, I would do everything in that game if I'm gonna play it.
You get to a point where there's a few things where like I don't need to do another bounty, or like this guy sucks. I am not doing missions for this guy like specifically because he's terrible and I want him dead. And like a lot of the stuff is like, oh, you go do the runs for the slavers or the libertarian guy. So there's like, you get to like a point where there's one chill group of people that you actually want to talk to and like hang with. But the thing that I realized as I was wrapping up the game is like if like Last of Us is like HBO prestige television, this is like just like classic Hollywood.
AMC.
I'd like that more.
Yeah, that like in a way I was like, oh, this is like refreshing in how like just like kind of by the numbers a lot of it is.
Could you make a comparison of like Last of Us is like an HBO show, and then like what's the network that does Riverdale?
CW.
Is this a CW show?
Yeah, you could make
More
that argument.
CW video games. That's
But,
what I want.
You know, just more like, you know, if you could go see this in a movie theater and it would be like summer blockbuster type thing.
Sure.
Like, yeah, I don't want to get into why, because a lot of that has to do with like the ending.
Sure.
But it did feel like I did have this moment like, oh no, this is just like classic Hollywood, like right here.
And then
which
some
in a way was like
showed up.
Yep, and one of them had balls.
Just one.
One of them peed on one of them. It was a thing.
Oh
Yeah.
God.
Like
Those movies so fucking bad.
The first one seemed pretty good when it came out.
Yeah, it did, didn't it?
Man.
Sam Witwicky. I can't even say it. Sam Witwicky? Is that what he's called?
I don't remember.
I don't know.
Optimus
All I know
Prime
is that
has
the
depression.
only bit of that movie
More.
that I've seen, I probably mentioned this on the show before, was like I was at like a friend's house in high school, and it was on, and we needed to watch something for like 30 minutes before to kill time, and it was the only 30 minutes without Transformers doing much of it, and it was just like masturbation jokes, and we're all both like, this is not the movie we
There's
thought
the
we were
whole
watching.
the second movie is just bad from top to bottom. There's the whole like Shia LaBeouf's gonna get seduced by this sexy lady who turns out to be a transformer.
Decepticon, yeah.
Oh
I
yeah,
mean,
I
who
forgot
among
about
us
that.
has not had an issue of being
Who among
like,
us has not been
that's
seduced by a sexy transformer lady?
Yeah.
I think there's a Steam game about
And-
that.
And their name is Optimus Prime. And yes,
They have a trailer.
Dumps like a truck.
Yep.
Truck.
yep, exactly. Man,
Days Gone.
yeah, I'm just excited to play that game at some point. It sounds good. I'm glad that you played through it to tell me that it's worth playing.
I do think it's weird that you said that Rami is the person who was like, oh, the back half of that game is like where it gets interesting.
I don't know if Rami ever finished it. I don't think I ever saw his thoughts on the ending.
I just think it's funny that he would be the one to say it, because he is also the most outspoken of being tired of games set in America.
Oh,
And
sure.
so
Well,
just,
keep
like,
in mind
that
that
being interesting and like
keep in mind that Days Gone came out like what, 4 years ago?
No, 2019. Not 4 years ago. No, 2019.
That game came out in 2019.
Yeah.
I think
Oh,
so.
wow. Okay. I thought it was older than that.
No, the 2-year anniversary is like this week.
Okay.
April 26th, 2019.
Yep. And it's coming out on PC in like 2 weeks, on the 18th of May.
I think their whole
$50
there's not going to be a sequel thing is bullshit. They're not making a sequel at this time, but I bet you.
Yeah, I mean, if they can get on board to do a sequel, like, you know, I don't think it needs a sequel.
No, yeah.
But like they could of course make one, and I think they have like some interesting ways to go. They leave a lot of like story threads unresolved.
I think probably what Sony said to Bend is you got to figure out how to ship a game in under 6 years before you start working on Days Gone 2.
Go make an Uncharted.
Yes, basically yes.
Here's a dollar. Go make an Uncharted.
Yeah.
Here, go make a Call of Duty.
Oh God.
Speaking of,
Allison, do you need to go?
I need to get going,
Okay,
but have fun talking about Call of Duty and
And I'm the Call of Duty. Well, Alex is too. I'm a Call of Duty guy.
well, thanks for joining us. See you
Bye,
next time,
Allison.
Allison.
thanks, guys.
Well, in the news this week, we've got Call of Duty. Did they announce a new game? Is that what's going on, everybody?
Well, there's going to be another game this year.
Another Call
they've
of
said
Duty?
that. Did they reveal the new Call of Duty?
No, the leak is that it's a alternate history where World War II never happened.
We've talked about that.
I heard that
Really?
actually isn't what it's going to be. That it's going to be like not an alternate history. Reports have been conflicting.
They will announce the new Call of Duty sometime probably in June or early July.
Yeah, probably.
That is when you will find out.
E3 probably.
Yeah.
Maybe an Xbox. Are they the Xbox marketing deal? Or
Yeah,
they,
I
no,
think
they're
so.
PlayStation marketing
They've
deal.
gone back and forth.
Yeah.
They're currently PlayStation.
Okay.
Anyway, this time Activision is really inspiring everybody with their decision to move creators, studio Toys for Bob, creators of Skylanders and developers of like the Crash remakes, and apparently they are now working on like Warzone stuff. Maybe
It's just like they're so creatively bankrupt as a publisher.
And apparently virtually every studio at Activision is working on Call of Duty in some way, except for like Blizzard stuff. But I bet there are Blizzard people working.
Probably.
On Call of Duty.
Well, there are, because they use BattleNet for the so someone at Blizzard is doing some kind of network shit for it at least.
Yeah.
What's so frustrating is that I personally think Modern Warfare is a significantly better game than Cold War. Like, to the extent that like Cold War has an interesting campaign. That's not what I'm talking about in terms of multiplayer. Cold War, I was done with Cold War in under a month, and I have not really played it that much. And if they could have easily done another year of Modern Warfare content, and it would have been more fun than Cold War. And, I understand why they don't do that, because I still bought Cold War. Like it's just that they want a $60 purchase every year plus battle passes, not battle passes forever. But it just goes to show like I think Activision is going to collapse in the next 10 years, and
I'm surprised they haven't already collapsed.
Me too.
Frankly.
Kotick just is taking a pay cut.
Whatever.
Like he's going like half pay.
Whatever. He'll get like a $400 million bonus.
He'll get a ridiculous bonus. And he's signed on through 2023.
I
March
can't believe they still want him helming that ship either. It hasn't gotten better. The company has only continued to do worse under his leadership.
I think they sell more and more Call of Duty, but I think the other rumor is that the Vanguard is kind of looking like a mess technically right now. But I think that has been the rumor for a while, so I don't know where they're at now.
What is that? I don't know what that is.
The new isn't that what the new Call of Duty is rumoredly called?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, maybe I don't remember.
They said that Cold War was a mess until pretty late in its development as well, and I think it's not a mess. It works and it's fun enough, but it's certainly not as good as Modern Warfare. But I don't know.
Activision has been poorly managed for forever. Like the way they have run series into the ground, that's just their mantra is like you look back at Tony Hawk, you look back at
Guitar
Hero, like all those kinds of games, like
Skylanders.
To an extent, like they were like, oh, we're going to focus on this one thing really hard because people are liking it. So we're going to do it over and over and over and over and over again. And they did that with Call of Duty as well. And they still do it. And like, Call of Duty games have maintained at least like there hasn't been a really bad Call of Duty, like maybe Ghosts, like depending on if you didn't like it or not. But
they generally play it pretty safe.
But now if they're really throwing all of their resources, like all of these studios that they've acquired and all of these things like straight into the Call of Duty machine, like they're making the same mistakes again and again, but this time they're doing it at a much bigger scale.
The thing that it seems like that just no one there gets is people aren't just numbers. Like who at Toys for Bob really wants to work on Call of Duty? I like Call of Duty. I have no fucking interest in working on Call of Duty. If you told me, hey, instead of working on these cool, like colorful games that you enjoy, we're going to put you on the military shooter, I would be like, okay, I'll find another job. And I understand that like jobs aren't necessarily growing on trees, except that the thing is, from what I've seen from following game dev Twitter, higher level jobs above the entry level actually are everywhere because there's so much burnout in the industry right now.
So there's no senior developers.
So
everybody leaves.
Activision is going to start like bleeding senior staff, and that's not good. That's really bad for them.
And to that point, like if you join Toys for Bob because you like the games they're making, like you're like, oh, well, they did Skylanders, right? Like if you like Skylanders and you want to work with that IP and you want to make the kind of
you're never going to work with Skylanders IP ever again.
But if you
Robot
joined,
is not gonna
if you joined at that point, like 5 years ago, and now they're like, okay, you're working on Call of Duty now. It's like, well, no, okay, bye.
And what's so strange is there's so many things, like if you're telling me that someone at Toys for Bob hasn't pitched a Skylanders gotcha game, I don't believe that. I'm sure that someone has done that.
Yeah.
Like
absolutely.
I'm sure that these studios are pitching things that are interesting, but like Activision just seems to be like, well, Call of Duty is the thing that sells the most, so we're just going to keep pumping into it. But it's like, as someone who went to business school, you can't, it's not an equation where you can just like go, well, people like the Call of Duty thing, so we'll throw more resources at it, and then the number will keep going up. There is like a ceiling on what those games can do.
They have like so many games going on with like Warzone, and like Modern Warfare is not getting like new content for it, but they're still like maintaining it, I assume, in some way.
You can actually earn Battle Pass progress for the other two games from playing Modern Warfare.
And then Black Ops, and they're gonna have another game coming, and
Call of Duty Mobile, I believe they still manage.
So there's like, there are so many versions of Call of Duty. And
it's ridiculous.
You're right. Throwing more resources at it is not usually the answer. Like in the software development world, like there's a expression that gets thrown around. It's like, you can't make a baby in a month by throwing 9 women at it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like it's just that's not how it works. Having more resources is going to make it a little easier for parts, but it's not going to make the project move that much faster. So it's
it's really
not wise.
It's we'll see how much longer they last. And it's wild when you compare that to even EA, which is a company that I'm not going to say is like a great company. I mean, they do plenty of bullshit, but they're letting Respawn do interesting stuff with Apex Legends. They have, Motive put out Squadrons, which was a cool, like smaller project for an EA studio to do, and is still supporting it. Like not with like tons of content, but like it still gets ongoing stuff. The Sims is continuing to like generally be a game that people complain about, but also are pretty passionate about and enjoy. And like their sports division is kind of frustrating, but like EA is the company that is also big shitty publisher, and they managed to at least get enough right to not feel like completely terrible.
The thing about EA is that they actually learn from their mistakes. Activision
it seems
doesn't.
To some extent like they have. That's kind of what I'm getting at, I guess, is that like I don't think that everything is perfect with EA. I'm very nervous to see what they do in the future with the F1 license, because I'm not convinced that they'll be able to keep that series good year to year. But it's not as bad as Activision is kind of my point. Activision is like the worst AAA at this point, I think,
by far.
by no small margin. And it's really frustrating. Anyway,
I just, since we're talking about Activision, I'm remembering that Bobby Kotick is in Moneyball. I just watched Moneyball, but I was like, wait, where is he in Moneyball?
Bobby Kotick also is an enormous asshole. That guy can suck shit. He's a fucking turd.
Yeah, no, terrible.
Like seriously, I hate that guy.
Turd. If turd is your harshest term for someone, that's a good one.
Well, I have much harsher terms I won't say on this podcast because they're a little beyond what I want to say about a person.
Harshness is like gotten so like with like social media and just like as society has progressed more and more, like the harsher you are, it's like, whatever. I'm a
that's why
idiot,
I would
whatever. But but you go something like, oh, that guy's a turd. Oh, what a dummy. It's like, whoa, that's like, that's like a little too personal.
Anyway, and I mean, like his ideology, his politics, everything about that guy is fucking reeks of shit. So,
So,
I hope he loses it all somehow. I don't know how, but
I don't know.
Well,
I feel like
speaking of,
Activision will crash. Anyways, let's move on.
and we'll
Yeah,
see.
yes,
We'll
yes.
see. The only ones who will end up hurt are the devs. So,
Yep.
Unfortunately.
yep. Speaking of losing it all, Konami has pulled out of E3 2021 shortly after like it being announced that they would be partaking. They just said our games aren't going to be ready in time, so we'll reveal them later.
I don't doubt that that's. I don't think they're lying, but I think that's also like. I wonder how much of this is they saw the ESA's plans for this E3 and we're like, well, we'd have to crunch to get there, and it's not really worth it.
Wait,
so
we don't need a giant like box and carpet on the floor just to keep space. No, we don't. Oh, okay, never mind. We're not going to
exactly. I suspect that they will still do a stream in like July.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it was like actually our stuff is just like in like Sony or like in a Microsoft presentation.
Yeah, that could be
like,
too.
We're not like doing our own thing. Like
The statement they put out, for one, it looks like it was written on a "Hello, my name is" badge, and
Yes.
then for two, it says they're continuing being in deep development on a number of key projects. What key projects does
Silent Hill.
Konami have? Well,
Silent Hill.
if they're like that's the thing is like, is Konami developing stuff themselves?
No,
or
I think
are they are they like licensing it out? And
But if from what we've heard of what Konami is like, if they're licensing it out, they're still like, this is our project. They seem very, frankly, shitty.
It also depends on who they're licensing to. Like, are they licensing to like Sony, like the rumors have been, or are they licensing to like a third party? Like,
I don't know. I don't know if I believe all those rumors.
Third party studio.
I'm
Kojima Productions.
surprised because like the Castlevania Netflix show has been really popular. I'm surprised they haven't been doing Castlevania anything.
Well, they haven't been doing anything, right?
No,
Like,
also that, except for fucking Pachinko.
yeah.
I mean,
so
maybe they're doing a new Castlevania. Who knows?
I would not
Like,
be surprised.
Maybe
nice if it's
this
good.
is the time they're like, oh, these game things still sticking around, but like there's like they're a very Japanese company, and there's like consoles are not like they're selling in Japan, but there's also like way fewer selling. Like the PS3 was like the last time like the PS4 sold less than the PS3. So if they're looking at that market, they're probably like, maybe we can get in, but like I don't know how dedicated they'll be to do it themselves. So I expect them to do like a license thing. So
Probably.
but I'm curious, they got Metal Gear, but Metal Gear without Kojima. But what if the rumors?
I mean,
you got Phil Spencer with the
Revengeance.
Ludens behind him. So you got Phil Spencer giving Konami a lot of money to let Kojima make another Metal Gear game.
I mean, I think that could happen. I think all that stuff. They just gotta. It's all about money. I mean, at the end of the day.
It is. But like Revengeance was a Metal Gear game without Kojima, and it was pretty good.
Yeah, but also like,
But it was also with Platinum, right?
Yeah, like, hey, if they want to make Revengeance 2, I'm okay. Yeah,
Sure.
let's do it. Let's go.
But Platinum's also trying to make another Bayonetta, so
still,
Trying.
like 5 years now. Like, what is 4 years? How
So
long
I
has
don't
the
know.
Switch been out? I don't even know. Like that was announced with the
2016?
Switch.
No,
So
2016 or
2017 it came out. Came out in 2017. So I think Bayonetta was announced in like late 2016
Right. That makes
or
that lines up.
early 2017.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Something like that. But I don't know.
And Shin Megami Tensei 5, like
I still think E3 doesn't matter anymore.
no, I don't
Unfortunately,
think anybody thinks it does.
I loved E3 for so long, but I think in 2021
it'll be nice to
it doesn't matter.
It'll be
that
nice
much
to just
anymore.
have a lot of the stuff all happen at once.
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
not-
that was always the best part of E3, right? Is the press conferences and just having a news dump.
yeah.
Like that there's going to be a news dump on this time period, and that's
I
that's
get
the value of
3
E3.
days where I'm just like, okay, let's get it.
Last summer, I was kind of into the idea of spreading it out more, but after going
In
through the whole
execution,
thing, I
it was
ended
a
up.
little
I
much.
think I would prefer it to be a little more compacted this year, but it won't.
Like,
it won't be.
Yeah, it's nice to have the space for like the smaller games to get their time,
Yeah.
but also
But
at least
there's
for
so
me,
many
like
more, so many
there's
more
so
places for
like
those to show up now.
Yeah, and it's like hard to track that stuff.
It didn't. That's the thing, is it didn't end up like, for example, the perfect case study in this is there's a game coming out pretty soon, next week, maybe it was delayed, but there's a game called Hood Outlaws and Legends coming out, which is like a weird PvEVP game where you play as Robin Hood characters that have magic and stuff. I'm pumped. I actually pre-ordered it because I got it for a big discount on Green Man, like in January or something. I'm very excited about it. I have a couple friends that are going to go in on it too. That game I found out about because it was on one of those streams that had like just sort of random upcoming PC games. No one's talking about it though. Like I haven't seen anybody other than me and a couple people I know who pre-ordered it excited and talking about it. So it's not like, it doesn't feel like it worked.
Like news cycles really just, they get inundated, they get saturated really fast these days. And it's hard for anything to stand out because the attention span of the average person that follows the game industry is not long anymore. Like people aren't reading magazines, they aren't watching long coverage previews, they're watching like 2-minute videos, and like stuff does not stay in front of mind unless you just constantly throw it in people's face. So it's hard for the smaller developers. 100%.
Yep. And Hood is a game that is, it's the reason that I was like, okay, I'll actually check this out, is because it was backed by Focus Home Interactive. So it's even backed by like a publisher that's like a mid-tier publisher, but there's just so many games that it's hard to find the time to keep them all straight. Even though there's so many that are cool. There's sort of a critical mass of stuff, which I think is going to be interesting to see how it works out over the next year and a half or so, because for games that are like that dodgeball game and stuff like Hood and stuff like Chivalry 2,
that
like
game, right?
Isn't that a Ubisoft game?
These are multiplayer games that do require there to be people playing them for them to be interesting. It's not like movies or something or other forms of entertainment where you can just like get it and then watch it and then you're done. Some of these games kind of require a sales tail to keep them relevant. So I think it'll be interesting to see how that works out over the next couple of years, because it feels like there's more of them now than there's more of them at a higher production value now than there were even 3 or 4 years ago.
It's definitely market saturation. And
the way stuff gets successful, and we've talked about this for years, literally at this point, but like the reason stuff gets successful is 100% pure luck. It has nothing to do with the quality of the game. Quality games get made all the time and then fall under the radar. And then randomly, like look at Among Us. We've talked about that before too. Like that game came out 2 years ago or 3 years ago at this point, and then 2 years later it got extremely popular out of nowhere. So like the industry works in weird ways that you can't predict.
I think there is an aspect of luck, but I do think that the game has to be
it has to at least be good.
Good on some level.
Making a good game is not enough, and also like there are plenty of bad games that like do well. So,
and I do think that to a certain extent it is marketing that helps to make that stuff work. Like I think part of the reason why perhaps Among Us took so long to find an audience is because it is a super small team that didn't have a marketing budget at all. So it took someone kind of randomly stumbling on their
a popular streamer to do so.
Yes, exactly. Whereas, some of these mid-tier publishers are in this interesting space where they maybe don't have the money to draw or to have a big enough marketing budget to draw a mainstream crowd, but they're also not small and scrappy enough where they can support a game without people paying for it for years. So it'll be interesting to see how some of these games shake out in terms of their long-term support and where they end up, because it's going to be tough out there, I think.
Yep.
Although with no Overwatch 2 ever coming out, at least there's one less competitor.
Yeah, it's okay. That team's just going to work on Call of Duty.
Yep.
Speaking of games and delays in the summer, Resident Evil Reverse
Oh yeah, we talked about that just last
the free
week.
multiplayer game that was
Yeah,
supposed
we were looking
to
forward to it.
release with next week with Resident Evil Village has
Yeah,
now been
that's-
delayed to summer.
Oh fuck.
Yeah, I was really I was
Don't say
$60. The $60
don't say
was
those
worth it.
words.
The $60 was for Reverse, and I was, the
And it came with Resident Evil 8.
Dimitrescu. Yeah, the Lady Dimitrescu was just like a bonus. Like I thought it was like a
Dimitrescu.
pre-order thing for
Excuse me.
Reverse, but yeah, that's what Ethan says in the demo for. He says Lady Dimitrescu.
Oh, I thought that he says Resident Evil Reverse coming soon.
No, that's what she says.
You can
when
play as
encounter
me in
her.
Resident Evil Reverse.
That's at the end of the demo. Yeah, so that's like that. I don't even know what they're doing. Like,
What's
I mean,
funny?
if the game's not ready, the game's not ready. But also, like, if that game doesn't come out with Village, it's not.
No one's gonna play
It
it.
has no chance.
What's
Yeah.
funny, the more I think about it, the more I'm like, if that game had been good, it's such a smart, stupid way to like it could be such a smart, stupid way to kill a couple of hours.
Hey,
Sure.
it's not bad. Like, I played it, I had fun. I went back to it like a few times. So like, I don't think it's bad. It plays
idea
better
of,
than
yeah.
the Resistance they did.
I'll play fucking Leon Kennedy while my friend plays as Nemesis, and
Well, no, because you're all
you wanna be
playing as
fucking Leon
like
Kennedy?
you're all playing as like Hunk or Leon or Claire, and then when you die, you turn into Nemesis.
that's what I mean. Is like
Yeah.
that's
Okay.
that's
That's
kind of
silly.
a fun concept.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
no,
hopefully they get that game in a place where it's decently playable and there's enough people to find a few matches.
Yeah, like
'cause-
it, like when it comes out, we should definitely like play some because like it's
Yeah.
like, it's not
doesn't
great, but it's fun.
it doesn't have crossplay, does it?
Probably not.
Probably not. I might get Resident Evil 8 on PC anyway because I saw a good pre-order deal for it.
I
from
thought about it. I was like,
my
mods.
lads at Green Man.
I don't
Mods.
know. Like I don't know
Oh,
what's
no.
mods.
Well,
but
and-
I just want someone to make a randomizer for the game, but I don't know. Like
Sure.
Resident Evil 7 doesn't really lend itself to randomizer stuff as much as like the other games do. So I don't know if Resident Evil 8 will lend itself to that, but I'd like to see a randomizer for it.
I think it'll look better on my PS5 than on PC, but also it is a first person game, and as I play, 7 is not giving me the same thing that 2 remake did, where I was like, I can't do this with a controller.
Yeah.
But I think I would probably be enjoying it more if I was playing it on PC. So.
There is like the having the precision is nice, and then also like because it's first person especially.
And I'll admit, part of it is I thought that like my partner might want to like sit and watch, but she hasn't really taken much of an interest in sitting and watching. So I'm kind of like, all right, whatever.
Well, I don't know, but there's no Lady Dimitrescu in 7, so
7. Yeah, but you
Apparently it's got pretty light system requirements too, from what I'm looking at.
yeah, they're pretty good about that stuff.
It must be really well optimized because it's like 16 gigs of RAM. This is for like the high end. 8 gigabytes of VRAM, a 1070 or a RX 5700, a Core i7.
What the hell is going? Okay. Oh, I see. Okay, never mind. I was like, why is this $80? But that's for the Resident Evil Village and 7 pack. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But
I wonder if. Oh, I was gonna. Never mind. Pat, you haven't finished Resident Evil 7, right?
No, not yet.
I was gonna say
I intend
something.
to.
I was gonna say something. A question about 8, which would have been pretty spoilery for 7, but I'll wait until you finish.
Okay, cool.
you can message me.
I think I'm gonna try to
best
get
answer.
through it. This week was a weird week because I'm setting a goal for myself to get through a Final Fantasy 14 expansion every month,
yeah.
so that
Hell
I
yeah.
can be caught up by the time Endwalker comes out. And I had to kind of cram to get through the end of the Realm Reborn patches because they're very long.
Yeah.
From what I've heard, they're the longest patch cycle of any of
They
the
are.
games.
Okay. Well,
So
that's
It's,
nice.
Anyway.
it's smoother from there.
Yeah, I got through that. So now I have a little bit. I can't let off the gas pedal too much because Heaven's Word is not like short, but
Yeah.
I have a little bit of breathing room.
Like Resident Evil 7's like
I can
8 to
find
10 hours.
Yeah, I can find 10 hours over the next week to finish Resident Evil 7.
Yeah. It's so good. But
It is.
yeah,
It is.
you can message me, Alex, with if that
Sure.
question you have, and I can do my best to answer. But I haven't played the game yet. I've only played the demo, which they extended this last demo to 8 days instead of like 24 hours. It's still an hour timed thing, but you have a larger window to play it. Here's a weird one that isn't on our list, and I forgot. But earlier this week, I was thinking about a game from like 2010, maybe 2011. Let me check the date on. I don't even know. Do you remember El Shaddai Ascension of the Metatron?
Fuck yeah, it's coming on Steam.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
For some reason,
that.
I thought about this game like earlier this week, and then like 2 days later, Patrick Klepek is tweeting about how it's coming to Steam.
Yep.
I'm like, what? Why? 2011.
I remember it.
I think I rented it or played I think there was a demo on PSN. Yeah, I don't know. But it's a weird game, a weird name, and do you seem to have some affinity for it, Pat? Do you know like what the deal with this game is?
It was just a really weird. It deals with like some really strange ephemeral, like, I don't want to misspeak too much, but it's inspired by like the Bible, like
Apocryphal
religious
Book of Enoch.
Yeah, the Book of Enoch. That's what it was. And it's just a weird fucking game. It's like, if you look at it, the environments are all like very abstract.
It's like kind of watercolory in a way.
Yes, it's a weird ass game. And people who like it a lot. And there also was a pair of licensed jeans that came out when the game originally came out. Yeah.
Okay.
And, licensed blue jeans for
like some
El Shaddai
Levi's or
Ascension of-
something.
yeah. Well, I mean,
Some
not
L,
Levi's,
some
but
L,
yeah.
L Levi's.
The thing is, those are like I would not be like weirded out seeing those on the street in Japan. Like that is very much Japanese, like jean style. Like they're really into like the embroidered, like kind of extra jeans.
Do they? Oh man, could it just be like, those sweatpants that say stuff on the butt? It just says Shaddai or something.
Let's see. They're El Shaddai X Edwin 5030. I don't know what Edwin is. I guess it's a jeans brand, but yeah, that's maybe that can be our cover art or something.
Sure.
Anyway, yeah, I'll send you a link.
Thanks.
Yeah. Anyway, next news story. Valorant from the people over at Riot. Maybe they're gonna finally solve Pat's problem, and they will now be recording voice chat in game, so they can listen in if someone is reported for using like slurs or any sort of like unsportsmanlike reportable offense.
It's good.
So basically all voice chat will be recorded, and it will only be like monitored or listened to reportedly if someone is reported in game.
It's good.
I think that concept is good. I don't have any faith in Riot in much the same way I don't have any faith that their claims that they'll only listen to the recordings upon reports. Like, hey, great, now they have a kernel level driver and they're listening to everything you're saying. Awesome.
Yeah, I think what I would say is like, and maybe this comes from being someone who plays tabletop games, and this is how I think about playing online games a lot. If I go to the game store and play a tabletop game, the people that work at the store can hear me talking, and I mean, I'm in public. Like, I think you should conduct yourself in voice chat like there's people listening.
And you know, you don't know if you're being like, you don't know if someone you're playing with is streaming or anything like that, but it is weird. Like, you know, I don't know if there's any information like, oh, we're, you know, if nothing's reported, then we delete the thing after like a day or something.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know how much.
I think that the policy should definitely be outlined in a lot more detail, and maybe it has been through their report. The other thing I think is that this only works, and this is more to your first point, Alex. This only works when the person that's doing the moderating, like, it doesn't work if you go like, oh, well, we're gonna just, if they say a slur, like, obviously, yes, you should ban that person, but like, the games that I played that put me off of it were just people being assholes. Like, yes, I also encountered being called slurs a few times, but that's stuff that like, it's horrible, but I can kind of shrug that off. I can just like, if you're going to just jump in and like you were saying, Andre, about social media, like saying shit to people, if you're going to jump in and just call me like the R word or the N word or something, like I that's terrible and you should get banned, but I can shrug that off as a player. What ended up bothering me is when I'd be the last person alive and there's someone in my ear going, no, you need to go there. No, you're being an idiot. Stop playing like an idiot. Don't be an idiot. Go in there. He's going to be in that corner. God, you're a fucking idiot. Like that's the stuff that made me go like, nope, I'm not doing this anymore. I don't want to having four people talking in my ear telling me that I'm a fucking idiot for 2 minutes is not something I want to deal with. So if they're moderating, but that requires listening to the context and like viewing the context of what's going on. And if there's millions of games being played, I'm not confident that they're going to be able to like sort that.
Yeah, I'm doing a bit more reading. It looks like you can only use voice chat if you opt in. Like if you do not opt in, you can't use voice chat. So I guess that's okay. But yeah, like it's not always about using slurs. Like I had a friend who was playing it and broke down in tears because she had the audacity to use voice chat, was pointed out to be a woman, and the whole time they were just being like belittling to her the entire time. Even though she ended up winning the game for them, but like the whole time they were just being so sexist and like not using slurs, not saying like harsh language, just bullying.
And I, as somebody who moderates stuff for work in a context where there isn't the same kind of like people interacting with each other, so you know that part is absent. Sometimes I have queues of like, I mean, yesterday I moderated like 1,000 comments, literally. And yes, but I'm scanning those comments for like really bad stuff and then hitting post. Now, if these were people talking to each other, I would be slowing down and taking more time to do it. But I also work at a company where I could fortunately say I need to take some more time with this and people would be cool with it. I don't know that Riot is going to have support staff that can handle the volume of reports that are going to happen in a way that's actually like and giving them proper attention.
Reading a comment you can read a lot faster than you can listen.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how that report system is in place. And like they went pretty hard on moderation on League, and they say like
it works well
down on a lot of the stuff and like getting,
but it's all text.
Like and so definitely like sifting through all the toxicity in voice chat is going to take a lot more time. They have the resources to like make a team that can do that, but their support has also been like, you know, there are some like real shitty things in like Riot support history with like treatment of players and stuff. But apparently, according to the story on PC Gamer, if Riot does act on a report against you and reviews your voice logs, that data will be made available to you and then deleted after the report has been closed. So I assume if no one reports like within a certain time after the game, then it's just like the thing is gone, presumably.
It's certainly that aspect of it doesn't personally bother me that much.
And PlayStation 5 can do the same.
I just wonder, well, Google does the same when you use their voice services.
Facebook does the same.
So does Apple. Well, actually, I don't know if Apple does, now that I think about it. They might.
Apple's a little better with it.
I think you can opt out of sending your recordings to Apple. But it just seems, the context thing seems so hard, because the more I think about it, the more it's like, well, okay, if someone's being an asshole and I say, hey, fuck off, I'm just trying to have fun playing the game, and I get reported for telling someone to fuck off, am I going to get banned for defending myself from somebody else being really bad? Like,
totally.
It's so like, it's so tough. They're going to have to pay really close attention to context in all of these situations when they review these logs. And the thing I think that is problematic about this is they clearly recognize that this is a problem, but instead of doing work to like systemically change their communities for the better, it sounds like they're trying to find ways to punish people and bet easier. And I just don't think that's going to work for them long term. I think the better thing to do is to cultivate an environment where the assholes just don't even want to participate, but they don't want to do that because that's less money. So it's tough.
Yeah. It's we'll see how it goes. Hopefully it makes that community less awful, because it is just one of those games where every time I see it pop up on my timeline, like a clip of it, it's because it's people being dicks in the game.
Yep.
Like that's the only reason I see it pop up on my timeline.
Yeah. I think of it like compared to something like, I mean, obviously vastly different games, so I'm not trying to compare them on what they are, but my partner's playing a ton of Phasmophobia these days, and she found people within that community that are really cool. And like generally anytime, maybe not in public lobbies, but anytime she hops on the Discord and says like, hey, did somebody want to play? People are like very cool. And it's a pretty like positive community. And it's largely because the developer has taken steps to make people that are shitty feel unwelcome.
Well, also,
and it's one person who makes that game.
But also when it's a Discord, it's,
no, for sure. But what I'm saying is the way that game is, the community has developed, is that's how you play it, is you go on the Discord and ask for people.
Yeah.
That doesn't feel like Riot's game plan with how to get you playing games like Valorant.
I mean, it's not, because
it's also a cooperative game.
It is. No. Again, totally different experience. But I guess what I'm just saying is
it is totally about how you build the community and what you foster and allow.
100%.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because they've allowed the toxicity to fester for so long in Valorant.
You reap what you sow. And Riot
totally
is not known for being particularly great
at the reaping part.
Or the sewing.
Anyway, it'll be interesting to see how things shake out with this Apex 3v3 mode, and see if the communities, because in general the Apex community seems a lot more positive and friendly than the Valorant community. I actually reinstalled it while we were doing this podcast.
Hey, internet,
check it out again. Because I have better internet now.
Just installing things just because you can. I know.
Comcast is going to be like, whoa.
We said unlimited.
Yeah, exactly.
We didn't mean it.
And my response is, fuck off. I'm taking it all.
I'm downloading the whole internet right now. I'm buying truckloads of hard drives.
I'm going to download terabytes of pornography, not even to watch it, just because I'm going to run out of games to download.
Chuck Wendig can't shut down this internet archive.
If I ever make a Plex server, I'm going to call it the Chuck Wendig Memorial Plex server.
Speaking of companies doing things, I don't have a segue for this. Doom Eternal back in the news somehow.
Great.
No, it's not, because they done lied to us. Or people still playing the game. I guess they're charging people for skins. Which they said they wouldn't do. These skins were in the game before, but are not obtainable anymore. I think like pre-order or something or other. But yeah, so originally, like around launch, they had said we're not going to do like any microtransactions for skins or anything like that, cosmetics. And now here they are doing microtransactions for cosmetics.
It's so ridiculous, because I think this is dumb and I don't like it, but I still see people on my timeline all the time being like, fuck yeah, Doom Eternal, one of the best modern shooters. And I'm like,
it's really
not what I've heard. But people fucking love that game. So
I don't know why. It's fine. It's an arcade shooter, which, like, hey, ain't nothing wrong with an arcade shooter.
It is.
I'm talking about
not a lot of games like it in like the AAA space.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about people too who are big in the indie development space for making arcade shooters. Are like huge fans of it, and I don't get it at all.
I don't get it either. I finished that game.
It's very bloated.
By the end.
Very bloated. But so that's Microsoft.
Why would you want
Bethesda
skins in that game?
For the multiplayer?
There is technically multiplayer.
Oh, there is? Okay.
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
It's not great, but it's there. And
that's whatever.
Like, I don't know who fucking cares.
I mean, it's just Quake
stupid.
Champions was good.
Quake 3 is one of the best games of all time.
Sure. But even Quake Champions was a lot of fun. I don't know. It was, if you wanted a multiplayer arcade shooter, it was good.
And guess what?
Speaking
Quake
of
3,
one of the best games,
Quake 3, you could put in whatever damn skin you want. You could be Macaulay Culkin, you could be Eminem, you could be fucking a cat, and you just had to install mods. Or
A talking
skins.
cat?
Oh, Quake Champions still exists. Never mind.
So that
Yeah, go play
they
that.
shut it down.
Go play that then.
They did a season 10 update in March 25th.
wasn't wow.
It's recent.
I'm actually surprised by that. But speaking of good games, Chibi Robo speedrunner found new exploit.
Oh yeah, I thought this was cute. I put this in. Klepek did a story about this at Vice. It was pretty cool. There's Chibi Robo. Apparently, is a game a lot of people don't even remember, which is wild to me because I actually have never played it, but I watched enough people play it that when I was younger, it was a game everybody seemed to love. But it has a very small but passionate speedrunning community, and speedrunning progress on it has been really slow because the community is pretty small. So it's not like Mario or Ocarina where there's like tens of thousands of people playing it to speedrun it. And it was just a cool little, like, the video is really fun because there's what they're doing is in the tutorial, you have to go downstairs, but then you can't get back upstairs until later in the game. And of this house, you're like this little robot in this house. But they figured out through this like crazy button combo that they mashed for 5 hours that you can actually like exploit out of the tutorial message and then go through a door that you're not supposed to be able to go into until much later in the game. And then when you come back out of that door, you're just further in the game. You're just like at that point, like hours further into the game, without having to go through any of the downstairs stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool. And it's fun because it's one of those videos where these people are like clearly tired and like maybe not on the verge of giving up, but definitely like, is this even going to fucking work? And then finally it happens and everyone just flips out and is so excited and like yelling and like screaming about it and stuff. It's fun. Yeah, it's a fun thing. They have to figure out how to make it repeatable reliably because they spent 5 hours trying to get it to work the first time. So,
well, proving that it works is one thing, and then you got to just, okay, let's get it
dialed in. Yeah.
Well, I mean, with speedrunning, you see those things all the time where people are like, oh, this isn't a marathon safe technique because it doesn't always work, or like I can't always do it because it's hard to execute. So, but if it's there, then it's there. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's cool. It was a cool story.
Yeah. It's always fun to hear about new speedrunning developments.
And Klepek is just my favorite writer in the genre of he'll write a $3,000 word article. Hopefully it makes at least $3,000. He'll write a 3,000 word article that's like about this really hyper niche specific thing, but he's a good writer, so he makes it interesting to you and kind of brings you into that world, even if it's not something you're gonna stick with long term. So yeah, it's fun.
He writes good stories. And our last news story this week is Microsoft is reducing the cut they are taking from game sales on the Microsoft Store down to 12% to match what Epic takes from sales on the Epic Game Store.
There's a joke in here that they reduced their cut by not selling any games because who buys games on the Microsoft Store?
They're supposedly they're actually a lot of changes are coming to the Microsoft Store. Okay. Like they're loosening restrictions on what kind of apps are available on the Microsoft Store.
Vector for my pornography downloads.
Hell yeah, hentai.
And making the not like the games, but just like instead of like, oh, it all has to be UWP apps, like saying like, oh, you can get like an executable off here or whatever. You can get a bat file off the Windows Store.
Nice.
And then they're also like kind of like revamping the store as like part of all this. So just like, okay, we know the store sucks. We gotta make it better.
So that 12%, is that what it was?
Yeah.
So does that apply to everything, not just games?
That I don't know. But the story was specifically PC games.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it applies to other things.
Because I remember hearing a lot of the conversation around this is specific to the fact that Steam Like there's some kind of Steam and Valve are kind of in some antitrust lawsuit territory with how they're having monopolistic tendencies and in the PC market space, as well as the fact that, they charge 30%, which is kind of a lot for a lot of developers. And they're one of the only places right now that still charges that much. Like,
and their thing about like, if you make a lot of money, we'll charge you less, or we'll take less of the cut. It should be the other way around.
It should be the other way around, which is what Epic does, where it's like, I don't remember the exact numbers, but it is like, it's like 10-12% up until $1 million of revenue. Then above that, it's like every revenue above that million, it's more.
I thought that was just for licensing Unreal. I think that's licensing Unreal. Like
that might be
like up to $100,000. It's like you free for license. Then you have to like start paying royalties or licensing fees or whatever.
Right. Thank you. Yeah. And like that seems much more friendly to everyone.
Yeah.
And like, they still get their bucks because the big sellers, they're gonna move millions and millions of copies, so they get their cut when it's time. But like the smaller developers, they still get access to those great tools, and the same thing should apply to getting a game or an app or a product or whatever out there. Like it shouldn't cost you 30% of your revenue if you sold 100 copies.
Yeah. Yeah. But again, like Pat was saying, like who's buying games on the Windows Store now that like everything's on Game Pass? If it's from Microsoft first party, like I'm not going to go and like try to buy Forza on there again or anything like that.
No, I mean, you would never want to use to keep Microsoft Game Store over Microsoft Store over Steam. And there's nothing on that store that isn't on Steam. And now that they're putting all their first party stuff on Steam, there's even, like less reason to go to that store. And like this is a good move on Microsoft's part, but if I were them, I would say, hey, we're going to continue to support Game Pass through the Xbox app, but we're removing games from the store. If you've already bought stuff there, you're good. We're not taking away your purchases. Like, why even continue to? I don't know.
I mean,
there's a revenue stream. I get it. They wouldn't. It's really hard to justify closing down a revenue stream, but
and at least it's better now. Like maybe people actually. I mean, maybe developers or whatever will actually start to use it and put stuff that matters.
What
I'll
say is the store itself. I mean, maybe they're going to have sweeping changes that'll make it better. It sucks. It's a terrible storefront to use. It is horrendous.
What's worse, the Windows 10 store or the PS5 store?
The Windows 10 store. Absolutely, the Windows 10 store. Although what I will say, this is my biggest problem with the design of the PS5 software, the OS. When notifications come up in the upper right part of the screen and cover up the search and settings buttons, like menu options on the home screen, and frequently the time that you want to hit those things to check how much storage space you have or to search for something is right after you start the console, which is when all of the notifications pop. So you have to sit there for like 20 seconds waiting for the this downloaded, this updated, your friend did this, you were invited to a voice chat. And then you have to wait for all that to clear so that you can see that your cursor is over the settings or search button. It's like, I don't understand why they thought it was a good idea. It's like the fact that on Windows, toast notifications come in, or like the notifications come in on the lower right of the screen, where frequently there's like a chat box or something. Like, why would you put the notification down there? Put it in like the upper left or something. Anyway,
Japanese UI design, baby.
You have to change a registry key to change it. You can't even change it in a setting.
Really? Love it.
Yes.
Mod your Windows just so the UI doesn't break everything.
Yeah.
God.
That's Microsoft supposedly fixing the store and taking less of a cut from developers, even though they're mostly anything anyone's playing on the Windows Store is just Game Pass games now. So
I mean, I
Candy Crush.
I use the Windows Store to download Ubuntu for my WSL, but that's free. So
I use it to update my Xbox app, unfortunately. And then it also is like, we think you need a calendar update, which by the way, I looked into. It's not that the calendar updates every week. It's that there's a bug that hits occasionally where it'll try to update your calendar every week. And do you know what the solution is? Fucking reinstalling Windows, which I'm not going to do. It's just like, God.
Computers.
I love it. That one's good.
Oh boy. Well, yeah, that's gonna do it for this episode.
So Andre,
yeah,
how was your shower? Did you turn the fan on?
Last night?
Yeah,
Like,
when
of
you were
course.
showering.
Yeah.
How do
Yeah,
you,
like-
who showers without the fan on?
I've met a couple people who shower without the fan on, and I'm always like,
do
are
they
you just gonna
want
get
mold?
Yeah.
yeah, like
Are they fungus people like those enemies in Returnal?
Or The Last of Us?
or Resident Evil?
No, but yeah, okay.
Fungus
I'm
people
glad to
are
hear.
good. I'm glad
So-
that fungus people have continued as a trope, because that's a good one. I like fungus people.
The fungus among us, but yeah, I'm glad to hear that you had the fan on. Did you shampoo and conditioner?
Did not condition. I don't condition often. My godmother is a hairstylist or a beautician, and she was like, "Oh, your hair, you got like oily hair. You don't need to condition."
Nice. Nice. Do y'all
So-
shave in the shower, or do you shave separately?
Sometimes, but sometimes like I like to have a mirror so I can see what's going on. But then like my
I don't
mirror
shave.
is like low or in the shower. Yeah, that's
I either when I
and not
trim,
your
I use
face.
scissors.
I don't know. We don't see below the neck, so I don't know.
Fair, but like, no, I don't shave in the shower because I use an electric razor, and I don't want to use that in
Yeah.
the shower.
I use an electric razor in the shower.
I mean, you
Or
can. It's
a
not.
beard
They're
trimmer.
usually
They make-
waterproof.
they- yeah,
They're
they make
designed for it,
waterproof
but
ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do shave my mustache sometimes, and that I do it out of the shower because I want that mirror. Yeah.
That mirror.
I was
Yeah,
shocked
that's-
when the washing your legs discourse came around, because I've always done that. And when I found out that there actually are like lots of white people who don't do that, I was like,
Wait,
the
like
fuck is wrong with you?
they just don't use soap on their legs, or they just don't
The
even touch their
argument
legs?
is that this is like a 2017 Twitter war.
Okay.
But the argument is that people are making is, if you soap up your upper body, that the soap rolls down
But-
to your legs, and
but
then you
you're
don't need
not-
to scrub because
you're
it's just
not-
rolling down. That's not how soap fucking works. You got to scrub it in there.
You
have to clean your pores out and stuff.
You got exfoliate.
Yes. I was shocked. I thought it was a joke. Like, I thought the joke, it was like a, like, ha,
Look
ha,
at
ha.
Dan Reichert ass thing.
Apparently it's lots of people had that logic or were taught that. And it,
Wow.
I mean, I did date someone in early college that was like, oh yeah, I don't use soap in the shower because the water is enough to clean you. And I was like, that's not
Yeah.
true.
Hell yeah.
I mean, hey,
She
if
was
you were
lying.
with
I mean,
them
she
and-
did use soap in the shower, but it was like I don't, we shouldn't have to. It was, she did, it's like a societal, like society says we have to do this, so I do it, but we don't have to really. And
You'll
it
use
was,
a loofah?
I do. Yeah.
Sometimes, yeah.
Nice.
That's
I didn't used to. I used to just use a washcloth or my hands, but now I use the loofah.
Hell yeah.
it's getting real personal in this episode, Alex.
I'm happy to share my bathroom and habits should be less taboo to talk about, because that way your people's collective hygiene improves. If everyone goes like, oh,
Yeah.
you do this and it's better. Okay.
Yeah. Wash your booty.
Yeah.
Well, yes,
People-
absolutely.
Buy a washlet from Japan and the warm water right up in your beehole. It'll be cleaner than you've ever had it. It's great. It's you need a shower at that point. You're not dirty at all.
In Scum, they just wipe their butts with their hands, and it's disgusting.
And then you like high
They
five.
like reach down and wipe their butt, and then they do this like motion where they like flick it off their hand.
that doesn't work.
It's disgusting.
Like the packing tobacco when people are excited and they do the hand flip thing.
Sort of. More like, oh, there's something gross on my hand. I gotta shake it off.
They put it there.
I know. I'm not arguing. It's ridiculous.
Well, now that we've gotten here, anything else you need to get off your chest before we wrap up this episode? Oh, you know what? I've got something.
Okay, go for it.
Last week, people were just not having it with my opinions on bananas and grapes.
That's true. Yeah.
And you know what I have to say? Fucking orange.
No.
I don't like eating oranges. I don't like eating oranges. I like orange juice.
No, fuck orange juice. Anything,
I understand. Oh, that's
What?
just
Oh,
like
hey.
edible oranges.
ridiculous.
It's just like any plain orange. Like I can get down with like a satsuma, like a like a cuties, or like a mikan. Clementine. Yeah, like those. We're chill. Oranges, no, get out of here. We're done.
No, I can't go with you on the no orange juice thing. That's important.
Yeah, I'm also into oranges. Like, sure,
No.
peeling them can be a hassle, but they're worth it.
No.
My partner had a cup of grapes. No, yeah, I don't peeling oranges. No, thanks. My partner had a cup of grapes, and she said she was gonna send a DM of it to you, and with some like really, really aggressive, like kind of too aggressive language. And then she was like, "But Andre doesn't know me well enough to under kind of a kind of ass sentence." She's like, "I don't want him to think I'm serious."
I can take it.
Oh, I know.
Like I said, if it was like a gentle, like, God, you're so dumb. You don't like grapes. I'd be like, wow, that really hurts.
No, this was like, fuck you,
what
you
a
piece of shit.
Yeah.
Oh, not like, man, Andre, what
Like-
a turd.
Like
No.
again, if someone is honestly truly upset with me for my opinions on fruit, like what fruit is good and what fruit is not, like,
Well, I think it's because when I call Bobby Kotick a turd, what I mean is that his value to society to me is literally the value of like a pile of poop. Like it's not it's not hyperbole. It's what I actually think. And that's why it's so hurtful.
So yeah, like if it was like something that actually mattered, like I don't know, my opinions on the best video games or something, and someone told me I was stupid, like, wow, I'd be like, well, them's fighting words, but it's grapes and bananas and oranges. They don't matter anyway. They're trash.
Who actually likes Yakuza? No one.
Let's not. Who gives a shit about food, the sustenance that we need to eat to live opinions. It's all about what entertainment
to
you
keep our
like or don't like.
disgusting bodies working.
Yeah. If it came down to it, I would eat like a banana or an orange or a grape. Like, I'm not going to like die instead of eating one of these things, but like, I'm an adult. I can eat what I want. No one's buying my food for me. I'm going to buy the things I like. I'm not going to buy a banana, except I have to buy my girlfriend bananas because she eats them for breakfast. So I have to like go and have to touch these disgusting things.
Well, what
Just
is
smell
your
them.
experience? Is your experience with bananas? Are you like Griffin McElroy style, where the only way you eat bananas is just by chomping directly into them through the skin?
The sophomore year of high school, we went to a summer camp. It was a sailing camp. And it was like, camp out overnight for like a week and, go sailing during the day. And in our tent, we had a cooler. In this cooler, we had two things: a package of Oreos, sealed, like brand new, unopened.
In a cooler, okay.
In a cooler, and a bunch of bananas. Why those two things? I don't know.
Okay.
Me and my friends, we did not touch this cooler the entire time we were there.
Oh no.
Like last night we opened it and it was just the smell of banana was overwhelming. Just the entire tent was like,
So
oh
you
no.
just had a bad experience with bananas.
No, I didn't like bananas before this. I wasn't gonna eat
Oh,
them, but it was
It's just reinforced it.
yeah, no, it's like, oh god. And so the perfume, the banana scent was just everywhere. And they were still perfectly fine. They weren't like rotten or anything. They were, they were like yellow, not a spot to be seen. And then open up the Oreos because that's what we wanted. And the Oreos tasted like banana through the sealed packaging.
That sounds good.
Yeah,
You improved
banana
those
Oreos.
Oreos.
That sounds
Not
great.
if you don't like bananas.
Banana Oreos exist and they're very good.
Yeah,
Ooh.
but hey, here's how you make them: you stick some Oreos in a cooler with the bananas for a
Probably
week.
actually natural flavoring and not whatever artificial shit is in them. The bananas are interesting because if you get an unripe banana, if it's yellow but it's still on the inside, it's a little too tough. That's not a good experience. And obviously once they're too ripe, they're not a good experience. So you do have to really hit them in the sweet spot for it to like be
like a
good,
pear.
but the sweet spot lasts like a week, so
Yeah.
it's
It's pretty
you got a lot
big
of-
window.
Yeah, you're pretty
yeah.
safe.
My only food related thing that I'm super not into is coconuts.
I
don't like.
I think I've
coconut
got like I don't even like psychosomatic. I don't even know. Like I don't have a like I can eat coconut, but I
Sure,
don't.
I'm
like
not
it, and
allergic,
it's,
but it makes
like
me feel sick.
it's the bad. Yeah, no, exactly. It's the like I had a bad experience as a kid in like after school program making
Same.
some trail mix, and I was like putting all the stuff in, and I put coconut in there. I'd never had coconut before. And I probably put too many like M&Ms and like candy things in there. So like I got sick. I felt sick and I was like, oh, I bet it was the coconut. And so ever since then, I was like, I don't like coconut. I don't want coconut.
Similar. I hurled a lot as a kid, like a young
I did
kid,
not do that.
with something coconutty, and just that combined experience, just scent and everything of coconut and hurl was
I
not
like coconut milk
great.
in things. Like I
Sure.
like it. Like it's
Yeah.
a really good. We've been making this vegan macaroni and cheese that uses coconut milk as part of it. It's incredibly good. You don't taste the coconut at all, though.
Yeah,
like it's not even
a thickener, or like sweetener.
Yeah, it's a thickener. It's not even sweet coconut milk. It's like a light, unsweetened coconut milk. So yeah, I like that, but I don't like coconut flavor. Like I don't like a almond joy. No, thank you.
Yeah, no,
not for me.
Mounds, no.
Yeah.
The snowballs, no. So in college, I took like a psychology 101 class or whatever, and we were talking about like the whatever, I can't remember the name of it, but the thing where like you don't actually have like an allergy or anything, but you're like, oh, I can't eat this food for some reason. Like
cabbages for me.
Yeah. So
sure.
like this coconut thing, like you had a bad experience with coconut. So now like you associate it with being sick or whatever. But it's just like, but even that is like a little extreme for what they were talking about. But you associate like, oh, it must have been like for me, like I got sick and I was like, oh, it must have been the coconut.
Yeah.
I have no proof that it was the coconut. And so the teacher was like, oh, does anyone have like this thing? Like, can you have an example? And people were just like saying the most wild food shit. And it was like, and the teacher was like, that is not what I'm talking about. Like one person was like, my dad made me eat like a whole container of like French's yellow mustard.
Nice.
The teacher's like, no, that's like a traumatic experience. That's not
awful.
at all what I'm talking about.
I like Asian cabbage, like Japanese cabbage and stuff like that. That I can do no problem, but I can't do like a head of just Western cabbage. That's
you can do a bok choy.
Oh man, like,
I can do a bok choy. I don't know if Japanese cabbage is different
right now.
Because I
get cabbage from the supermarket and it's just pretty much basic cabbage.
Okay, because I like shredded cabbage from this place we get katsu fried vegan burgers, like vegetarian burgers from.
Just like plain cabbage?
Yeah, I think it's just plain shredded cabbage. I think it's just the cabbage that I've normally associated with something that I don't like to eat. But
Wow.
it's the only time.
Do you do that in the shower?
You almost have to eat those burgers in the shower because they're messy as fuck. But you wouldn't want it to get soggy, so.
I mean, sometimes a messy burger is soggy already, so.
It's true. They're not like wet though. It's
yeah. Well, like here I've got like two, because like a lot of Japanese people sit down in the shower. So I've got got the standing level and the.
I wish we had a shower seat.
Yeah, we have a shower stool and like they use like a bucket to like pour the water over their head, and I'm like, why don't you stand under the water?
I don't want to do that, but I want a shower seat. Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, we've got like the high level and the low level. So you could, if you had the low level, you could just put the faucet down at like your waist area and then eat the burger, and then you lift it up and then you get your legs wet, soap them up, and then you can get the top part to finish.
Got something to try. If you brought a burger to this is no longer a podcast about video games. If you had brought a burger to like a public bathhouse, what would people say?
They would not let you in.
They'd say, what is wrong with you?
Here? What are you doing here?
I know here you can't really take food from other places into other places.
What if the public bathhouse served food.
Now we're talking.
That would be. I mean, then you're looking at like an inn, like a ryokon, like.
Do you think they like make the hot
like
dogs
Yukiko
and
runs?
make the hot dogs in the spa water?
Oh no!
God.
Like
That was a
do some
hot
rose
dog
water
flavored
hot
water.
dogs.
Not like I don't mean like literally in the same place where people are
Oh, okay.
in the water, but I mean like a fountain kind of situation
Yeah,
where
get,
like the water's like running out.
sulfury, like you gotta. Is the water running out from the hot dog?
Yes, into the bath. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Not people's gross bath water
Into
being
the
what the
hot
hot dogs are made in, but you're
Just
bathing in the used hot
gross
dog water.
into
So
the bath.
this is what Fred Durst truly meant.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then for dessert, you can have a chocolate covered starfish.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah. Okay.
No, not by the time you're done in the bath.
Nope.
Because
Nope.
yeah, it's a little too messy. We got to
Nope.
start with a chocolate covered starfish, and
Nope.
it's an
No, we're not doing this. So, where can people find you, Andre?
You can find me, Andre.
I just needed to leave.
aka
That's why.
your partner's favorite portmanteau on video game related portmanteau on Twitter at Coolslaw, COOLSL4W. Pat, where can people find you?
You can find me at PJC Plays, and I've been thinking about trying to do some kind of video series or something with some of this sim racing stuff I've been doing. So if you
Hell yeah.
think that would be interesting, tweet at us to the show or tweet at me, and
Only if there's a foot cam.
some of it may involve a foot cam, but
Okay. Great.
but not for those reasons. Just they
Gaming
would be
Fyx.
fully closed feet for you to watch what I
Fyx.
do with the pedals.
Let's see how much
OnlyFans.
money we can get you. Alex, where can people find you?
Playing NieR.
Okay.
Yep.
And you can find us on Twitter at Fyx Podcasts and Fyx.space, where maybe we'll have a review of MLB The Show. I'm not sure what Chris's
I haven't
status
heard
with
anything
that.
from Chris about that yet, but
Yeah, he's
see.
probably still working on it.
yeah.
But yeah, so we'll get that up eventually, hopefully. And yeah, that's gonna do it for this week. I gotta get to sleep so I can play D&D in like 5 hours.
I'm doing a race, and then I will be dungeon mastering a D&D session shortly after.
Hopefully I can wake up.
Fun.
Stay wet, gamers,
Mhm.
and bye-bye.
Bye.